Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Thank you very much for joining today's show, news update from Moscow, of course, and traditional Sunday community chat fundraising stream. Hopefully, it will work out good. It is, of course, 26th of July, 3 p.m. Moscow time. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and I think I have found certain links between topics that on the surface may don't really seem to be linked. I will go through each of those topics, of course, in a minute. Excuse me. But before I start the new segment, let me remind you that this is a big community chat, so therefore I'll try my best to be engaged with the community, with chat. And well, in case you want to participate in fundraising part of this stream, you can send your question or commentary through PayPal platform, Boosty platform. Even if you have no comment but want to support my work and this independent project of mine, you can donate through the PayPal or Boosty platforms. You can subscribe to my Patreon page, of course, or page on Boosty. That will be also unbelievable supporter. And during the stream itself, you can use super chat feature on Rumble to either highlight any topic you want or to donate. And also premium subscription gift card will do the job too in this matter. And every single premium subscription gift card is a $5 donation to this project. So you can use that feature if you want to donate. And well, as always, I'm streaming on both my channels on YouTube and Rumble. And if I may, I will drop in the YouTube chat a link to my Rumble channel in case you have a counter, or if you want to use Rumble features, because my channel is monetized there, unlike YouTube. If you want to use some Rumble features, well, you can use the link right there. And I'm streaming simultaneously. I mean, it's the same video here and there. So, okay, that's been said, dear friends. Let's go through some news, and also one nuance. If you can't use support platforms but want to initiate a conversation about any topic, please feel free to do so. Just use either capital letters in your commenter or capital Q at least. So that will make it a bit easier to spot when I will start scrolling through chats of both channels, right? After news segments. So I guess I've said it all. Enough for an intro. Let's go through some news. And well, I will start with good news for Russia and Russian Federation and all the supporters of Russia all over the world. And we are a majority, by the way. I'm quite sure vast majority of humanity knows perfectly well that Russia is on the right side of history and they support Russia. I hope so, at least, right? So good news I want to share first and foremost is that Russian armed forces liberated the settlement of Shevchenko in DPR. Defense Ministry dropped a video of battles that was taking place during the liberation of this village. And let me show you on the map location of it. So this is Shevchenko, relatively big settlement, as you can see, dear friends. We did some like lakes and stuff, and prolonged village. Actually, look, it's a quite a long village. So it's a good progress, isn't it? It's a good progress. I guess soon we're going to receive reports about Russian offensive in direction of Svetlae in this area, in direction of Vodyanskoye, these settlements right there. That's been said, dear friends. Also, just additional reminder that a few days ago, Russian forces in this particular direction liberated Belitskaya town, which is also obviously a big deal. Belitskaya, unlike Shevchenko, is a big town with a lot of high-rise apartment buildings that are always easy to use as a defensive lines. And many people are kind of surprised how easy. I mean, there's nothing easy on a battlefield, obviously, right? So I have to be careful with words that I choose. But many people are surprised how faster Kyiv regime defense lines collapsed in this area. And some people even still to nowadays are questioning if Belitska is actually under Russian control. But there is a lot of videos, by the way, right? You don't have to take anybody's word for it. You can search for a video and you can see video confirmations of Russian military's rising flags all over their settlement. Initiative throughout the battlefield is in Russian hands all along the conflict zone. And I don't think there is any circumstances that will help Kyiv regime and its NATO backers to reclaim initiative anywhere. That's my personal take on the matter. Also, of course, Russian forces continue to conduct long-range strikes on military, logistical infrastructure of hostile side. Russian troops further intensify pressure when it comes to on the Kyiv regime when it comes to maritime blockade. And on this matter, we have several reports. Past day alone, in past 24 hours, let me say. This way, Russian armed forces struck a landing craft of Kyiv regime, 3 dry cargo vessels, and a bulk carrier. So this maritime blockade is still in force. Hopefully, will stay in force, and politicians will not intervene. And Russian troops are eliminating any attempts of Kyiv regime to receive any goods for its military capabilities through waterways, either Black Sea or Danube River. Also, we have this report that Russian armed forces conducted strikes in Chernomorsk port area, which is Odessa region, and their military cargo storage facility was eliminated in this area. And dear friends, Soviet Union built quite developed portal infrastructure throughout the Odessa region, on the Danube River, in Odessa port, in Chernomorsk port, and this is Odessa right here, and just take a look. By the way, it's a highly developed city, of course. It was built by Russian Empire, obviously, but Soviet Union definitely did its work to enhance all the capabilities that this area could offer. And when it comes to Chernomorsk, let me find Chernomorsk, by the way, first. Should be somewhere here, man. Right? Interesting. Anyways, that's it, man. So this is another one, highly developed portal infrastructure is located in Chernomorsk too. You can see, dear friends, how developed it is, right? So this is the area where Russian armed forces eliminated this storage facility for munition. And sometimes it might get confusing, by the way. I mean, after all, I'm not a freaking geographer, right? I do know geography, on certain levels, but I cannot know freaking location of every freaking city or settlement on this planet. I don't need to know that. So sometimes I might get confused myself, right? Things happen too. But I'm trying my best to provide you with a good knowledge of approximate geography of their areas that we are talking about during these programs. Also, I want to share with you this report that past night Russian forces conducted yet another long-range strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime inside the Kyiv itself, capital of Ukraine, in several districts. After arrival of Russian missiles, massive fires erupted there, and some significant damage was done. There are reports that one of the biggest enterprises that the regime was using for drone assembly lines was completely destroyed. Obviously, I'm not there, can't say much about it, but that's what reports suggest that I see in Russian segment of internet. Also, Russian forces eliminated in Krivoy Rog, and you can see on your screen aftermath of strike on epicenter hypermarket warehouse building, basically, which was used for military purposes or adapted for military purposes by Western backed Ukrainian Nazi and their fascist regime. And well, basically, nothing is left from this enterprise. So you can check video if you want to see it. By the way, you can check the video on my Telegram channel. I try to publish it on Twitter X too, but it is so difficult, by the way, to upload some videos on Twitter X because of all these blockings and stuff. Sometimes even clicking VPNs don't help, right? So anyways, it is available on my Telegram if you want to, and subscribe to my Telegram and Twitter X difference. Every now and then I'm publishing some updates there, and also it is a good way to receive announcement about my programs, some that I make, right? Either announcement of live stream or announcement about any update that I dropped either on my Patreon and Boosty or anything else that I did, right? So links are under this video in the description box. So if you are interested, also interesting reports are coming in that Russian armed forces basically eliminated all gas stations, literally all gas stations on the border between Kharkov and the Poltava regions, and this is a big deal because Kiev regime's forces that were already experiencing difficulties to refuel their military vehicles will struggle even more. So that's a good development, obviously. And when it comes to basically central and eastern, northern, southern parts of Ukraine, well, Russian forces practically destroy all their gas stations, right? All demolish quite significantly logistical lines, and it's only a matter of time when these significant difficulties that was created for Kiev regime's forces will show up on the line of contact itself, when forward units of the Kiev regime will not be able to receive anything whatsoever, right? Because logistical units will not be able to reach them. Maybe in some directions, these significant strikes of Russian forces on logistical capabilities of Kiev regime is already having an impact, right? I hope so, at least. And we are talking about hundreds and hundreds of gas stations that were eliminated, on top of all the warehouses, storage facilities, and so on that Kiev regime's armed forces were using for military purposes. Meanwhile, well, it's a third day in a row, if I'm not mistaken, that Romanian side claims that they are intercepting drones. Their F-16s are being deployed again to intercept drone. They're going to claim it's a Russian drone. I'm not quite sure about it. If it's a Russian drone, I don't really care about it, right? If it's not a Russian drone and the Kiev regime is planning to provoke some strong reactions from Bucharest, then Kiev regime is mistaken, because what can Bucharest do, man? Really? Couple of strong statements, and that's about it, right? I mean, Bucharest is guilty before Russian people big time anyways, already. They know this, right? And they know time will come when Romania will pay dearly for crimes that this entity committed against Russian people. And I remind you, major logistical hubs of NATO that provides Kiev regime with weapons, major logistical hubs are located in Romania and in Poland. So nobody can say that these countries are innocent, because they are not. So yet again, if it's a Russian drone, I don't really care. Hopefully there will be no casualties among civilians whenever some Russian drone, due to technical malfunction or radio electronic warfare influence, crosses the border. Hopefully there will be no casualties among civilians. Other than that, I literally don't care, man. If it's a one drone or 100 drones, don't bother, right? Romania have to pay for crimes that it has committed against Russian people. One day it will pay, right? And from now and that day, anything that harms Romania is good by me, right? That's how it is, man. War is war. So let's not pretend that I have some sympathies towards enemies. I don't, man. I have no sympathies. I have no mercies towards enemies. And only people I might care on the territories of hostile countries, NATO member states, is the civilians. That is that. With the exception of civilians, I don't care about anybody. They all can die one day. I would not drop single tear for that. But, well, it is interesting that Romania is reporting that it's a third time they are intercepting drones. Okay, who cares? RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting about work of Russian air defense forces during the nighttime. And, well, dear friends, if Romania is whining about one drone a day that they intercept, well, what about Russia that intercepts hundreds of drones on daily basis that are launched by NATO member states, that are hiding, that are so coward that they are still hiding behind Kyiv regime and messing around topic of plausible deniability. Those cowards, right? So past night, 133 NATO drones, right, were intercepted. This is not the Ukrainian drones, this is the NATO drones, drones of NATO member states. And these drones were intercepted over the Belgorod, Bryansk, Kaluga, Kursk, Oryol, Rostov, Smolensk, Moscow regions, Krasnodar Krai, Republic of Crimea, and over the Black Sea. Unfortunately, due to this literally daily long-range attacks on Russian Federation that are orchestrated by NATO member states, let's never forget that this is the NATO member states that are targeting Russian people and Russian Federation. Well, yesterday there was a tragedy that I reported about it in my yesterday's update in a Kirillovka settlement where resting place of people, by the way, camp place of people was targeted. And yesterday we had reports that 8 people were killed there, 2 children among them. And unfortunately, this number of killed has increased as number of injured. We have this update that 12 people were killed in a Ukrainian Armed Forces strike on a tourist camp in Kirillovka, Zaporozhye region. Information is coming from local governor, Evgeny Balitsky. He wrote on his Max platform, and this is quote, as a result of the inhuman attack, 19 civilians were injured, 12 were killed. 2 people, including child, were rescued from the rubble. 4 minors were among the victims. Emergency services and psychologists are working with the families of deceased. Medics are doing everything possible to save the wounded, according to governor. And well, this was intentional, absolutely intentional strike on the tourist camp. There was not a single military person in the place, not a single human being with a military uniform, by the way, in the place, no military equipments anywhere around. It was a purely civilian camp. Right now, you can see on your screen the area and the Russian investigator that went in to document everything. And dear friends, all these terrorist attacks on Russian Federation are documented. Investigation cases are open. And if anybody on a Q-controlled territory thinks that they're gonna hide somewhere from justice, well, they are so mistaken, because Russian investigators will not stop until they will bring all those mass murderers and the terrorists to the justice. That's how it's gonna be. That's how it's gonna be. And if they think they're gonna hide somewhere in Europe or America, well, you know what? Many terrorists that harm Russia was thinking same way, that they're gonna hide somewhere in Europe, somewhere in America or Canada or Australia, and suddenly they all died. Just saying. Many of them, and the rest of them will die too. Just saying, because that's factual stuff. That's what happens, right? If we can bring these animals to justice, good. If not, then they will die. That's how life works. Another terrorist attack, massive terrorist attack of NATO member states, another crime against humanity that they committed. And also, unfortunately, 4 people were killed today in Gorlovka, again as a result of a drone strike. 4 civilians in Gorlovka were killed in a Ukrainian Armed Forces drone attack on the city, according to local mayor Ivan Prikhotko. Earlier on Sunday, Prikhotko reported that 7 civilians were injured in Ukrainian drone attacks. So that's That's the unfortunate reality, by the way, that Russia is losing civilians on daily basis as a result of these terrorist attacks that are orchestrated by NATO member states, by US and UK first and foremost, although, of course, France, Germany play key role in these terrorist attacks, and many other NATO member states, as we all know perfectly well. And well, you might ask question, how many civilians were harmed since 2014 in the new Russian regions, in Donbass, for example? And well, I can give you numbers on that. More than 40,000 people have suffered from terrorist activity of Kiev regime, this Western-backed Nazi and the terrorist regime. Since 2014, more than 12,000 civilians were killed. So over 40,000 residents of Donbass have been injured and over 12,000 killed as a result of actions by Ukrainian armed forces since 2014. Human Rights Commissioner here in Russia, Yana Lantarova, stated this in an interview with the TASS news agency, and this is Donbass alone. This is Donbass alone, by the way. If you count overall number of casualties and killed civilians, it's much bigger number. But she was asked specifically about Donbass, and she gave the specific information about Donbass. And none of this would happen, by the way. These more than 12,000 civilians in Donbass would be alive. These 40,000 people would not be injured if NATO countries that are led by genocidal maniacs did not orchestrate coup d'etat in 2014 in Kiev and did not remove forcefully, good or bad, but nevertheless democratically elected President Yanukovych, right? Everything that happened after that is 100% on Western ruling class and their collective West. 100%. Everything after 2014 coup d'etat is a consequences of this crime that was committed by NATO member states, by collective West, Western elites. Meanwhile, also interesting information was shared with the public by Mayor of Moscow that this week alone, air defense forces intercepted about 1,400 drones that were launched in the direction of Moscow. Vast majority of drones were intercepted over the Moscow regions while these drones were approaching the capital. Although around 140 was shut down, while these drones were basically almost on the border with the capital. But nevertheless, numbers are quite telling. Maximum 10% of drones are managing to reach cities, vicinities, or get close enough to their capital. Unfortunately, sometimes some drones managing to bypass air defenses, but usually all aerial targets are intercepted before they reach Moscow. And this is just a week. This is just this week, by the way. It's 7 days, right? 6 days, actually, because Sunday is still like 25 past 3, right? So right now, Russian air defense forces are still intercepting drones and will continue to do so with non-stop. Also, well, Novak, Deputy Prime Minister of Russian Federation, made a statement about situation when it comes to fuel supplies, due to these long-range attacks on Russian energy infrastructure and Russian Federation orchestrated by NATO. Many regions start experiencing some difficulties when it comes to fuel supplies. In some areas, there were some issues with the logistics due to this energy crisis, and because government was quite faster to implement new routes, new logistical lines. Export of gasoline was banned, export of diesel was banned for the time being, and Russia started importing actually gasoline. Well, situation improved in many regions, and today we have Novak's statement, who says that fuel supply situation at the gas stations in Russia has improved thanks to some oil refineries returning from maintenance. And that's another reason why situation is improving. Well, Russian engineers are doing some miracle, by the way, because when you see some of those videos when oil refineries are struck, you might think, goodness me, man, there is nothing left there. So it will probably take years to rebuild all that stuff. Well, Russian engineers are managing to pull off these miracles, and return to activity oil refineries faster than anyone could imagine, right? So therefore, because of these additional capacities of Russia oil refining here in Russia, of course, that has a positive impact on overall situation, which is a good thing, obviously, right? Which is a good thing. And well, to make sure that we are on the safe side, government plans to prolong ban on the gasoline exports to the end of the year. So even if all Russian refineries will start operating again in full capabilities, full capacity, maybe Russia will still ban gasoline exports and will start stockpiling, right? Kind of. I mean, we'll start creating strategical reserves of gasolines, because you never know when you're going to need that. So that's what is happening. You remember, I was saying always, man, that these long-range attacks are extremely painful, creates a lot of tragedies, by the way, throughout Russia. A lot of infrastructure is damaged too. But overall, if you take a look at the Russia, its size, it's not just a geographical size, but it's an economical might, right? And if you compare these drone attacks, well, I was saying this is a very painful, in many cases, extremely painful, because it creates tragedies. But nevertheless, these aren't strikes that can even slow down Russia, right? As mosquito bites cannot slow down bear, man, right? No matter how many mosquitoes gonna bite bear, if it's coming after you, man, you better run as fast as you can, because no mosquito is gonna save you. And that is that. So yeah, it is painful, 100%. These long-range attacks on Russian Federation, it creates, most importantly, and what is most difficult and painful is it creates tragedies, right? Human tragedies. But in a global scale, of course, NATO countries are never going to be able to harm Russia without nuclear weapons, at least, right? To harm Russia in a way that country will cease to exist, or kneel to anybody. Not happening. And if it comes to nukes, by the way, I mean, if US has nukes, France and UK, well, we have nukes too, and actually more than they do. So they should never even think about using nukes. That's how it is. That's how it is. Also, I mean, when it comes to these long-range attacks, I have to say, man, that none of it would be possible, right? And so many tragedies could be avoided, and so much destruction if Western ruling class never crossed no red lines with Russia, and if on the day when red lines were crossed, Moscow retaliated as strongly as needed to make sure that deterrence would stay in place, and the NATO countries would never ever try anything similar again. But because we never retaliated on NATO countries, they feel like, yeah, they can do whatever they want, right? They are wrong. They are wrong, and their time will come when they will pay a heavy price. Obviously, the only question is when that time will come. Right? Today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, right? But that day will come. Probably not before Putin is Russian president, because I don't think Putin will ever authorize Russian security services and militaries to restore the deterrent with the collective West. But there will be other presidents too, right? There will be other presidents, and no one gonna forgive or forgot what NATO countries did to Russia. No matter how long it will take, we will retaliate. That's how it is, man. That's how life works, isn't it? You bring some pain to other people, those people have every right to bring pain to you, man. That is that, right? That's the way things work. Meanwhile, RIA Novosti reports that Key regime targeted their Iranian vessel, by the way, in the Caspian Sea, believe it or not. They targeted the Iranian vessel in the Caspian Sea. One crew member was killed, several injured. This is a merchant ship, not a military vessel or something. So the Ukrainian Air Forces attacked an Iranian merchant vessel in the Caspian Sea. Islamic Republic's foreign ministry reported the Iranian foreign ministry strongly condemns Ukrainian attack on an Iranian merchant vessel in the Caspian Sea on the morning of Saturday. This happened yesterday, early morning by local time. Attack resulted in an explosion on the vessel, killing one sailor and injuring another. This attack is a violation of Article 2, Paragraph 4 of UN Charter, and an act of aggression that could further fan the flames of war, the ministry said in a post on its Telegram channel. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs emphasized that Tehran reserves the right to retaliate, and I think they will, man. I think they will. And unlike Russian leadership that never ever even tried to eliminate leadership of this Western-backed terrorist regime in Kiev, Iranians might not mess around. They might take on leadership of this Nazi regime, right? Easy. And all of Kiev controlled territory is in the range of Iranian missiles. Just saying. All of so-called Ukraine is in the range of Iranian missiles. And we all know how capable those Iranian missiles are, man, right? And there is promises. There is promises from Tehran that, they will take some actions. So I hope, man, I honestly hope Tehran will go after Zelensky, Budanov, and all the other human scum that is out there in Kiev, by the way, in Ukraine. I really hope so, because Putin not gonna do it, man. President of Russia will never, I think, take any action against Zelensky or any other leader of Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists, as he did not in the past 4.5 years. So I truly hope at least Iranians will, man, right? I don't know. Maybe they will, man. Maybe they will not. But this is interesting. This is interesting that Iranian vessel was targeted in the Caspian Sea. We all understand that intelligence was coming from US and UK, obviously, about location of this vessel. And also, most likely, Azerbaijani territory was used for attack. Most likely, Azerbaijani territory was used for attack because you can imagine, I mean, it's not enough to detect the vessel. To make sure that you're going to strike it, I mean, to launch drone from Kiev controlled territory, I mean, this drone had to bypass very, very long time, fly very long time, bypass huge territory, while Azerbaijan is right here. Right here. And the drones can be launched in shorter time, and flight path is much shorter, obviously, to strike anything. So Azerbaijan is 100% guilty on this attack, in my personal opinion, right? 100%. Maybe Kazakhstan too. Because, dear friends, formerly Kiev regime, in reality, British Secret Services took out at least 3 tankers in the Black Sea that were carrying or planning to carry Kazakhstani oil, right? From Caspian Pipeline Consortium terminal in the Russian Novorossiysk area. And This was a big deal because this Caspian Pipeline Consortium are literally mostly focused on Kazakhstani oil. That's what they do, right? They carry Kazakhstani oil, and not surprisingly, we are receiving these reports now that US has allegedly asked Ukraine to limit strikes on the tankers in the Black Sea. Information is coming from Wall Street Journal. And allegedly, Chevron is trying to keep its Kazakh assets out of the Russia-Ukraine war. And Chevron, by the way, this American company, energy giant, is one of the main shareholders when it comes to Caspian Pipeline Consortium. And of course, they will try to use whatever lobbyists they pay to influence Washington, or they will try to save their Kazakh investments or Kazakh, whatever they own in Kazakhstan. But it would not work. It would not work because much bigger stakes are on the table, for US included. And we all know, dear friends, despite all the propaganda, Washington is still leading the charge against Russia and against Russian people. US ruling class is the leading force, together with the British ruling class, in this war that they are waging together with the rest of the collective West against Russian people. And therefore, Chevron gonna fail. And those attacks on the Kazakhstani oil infrastructure, let's say energy infrastructure, was clearly attempt of Western ruling class to influence Astana to not even try to deter Western countries, Western secret services, Western militaries, and the Ukrainian proxies to use Kazakhstani territory for strikes on Russia. It was a clear message to Astana: don't even try to mess with us, right? Otherwise, we will kill your capabilities to make any money. And this Caspian Pipeline network, a consortium, and its network, by the way, is main way how Kazakhstan exports its oil. It's a country that heavily depends on oil revenues. Correct? So that's why CPC is constantly targeted to keep Astana in check. And I'm afraid this blackmail actually had their impact on the Kazakhstani leadership. Clearly, by the way, because after all, literally yesterday, there was another attack on the Russian Tyumeny, for example, Yekaterinburg, and their drones that was targeting oil refinery in Tyumeny, Wildberries warehouse in Yekaterinburg. Those drones were launched from Kazakhstani territory. I personally have no doubts about it. And you know what is interesting? Yesterday, Tokayev, president of Kazakhstan, had a meeting with the Russian president in Omsk. And remember, biggest Russian oil refinery that is located in Omsk was also targeted. This is the Omsk, by the way, here. Very close to Kazakhstan. This is Kazakhstan. And so, you would think that maybe Kazakhstani president will try to persuade his colleague, president of Russia, that he has no idea these drones are coming from, and he and personally and Kazakhstan security services are trying to secure ground and secure airspace to make sure no drones gonna fly towards Russia from Kazakhstan area. But well, maybe privately they actually spoke about it, but publicly, you know what Kazakhstani president did? You would not believe in this, man. You know what Kazakhstani president did? He called on Russian president to agree freezing the conflict. Tokayev became basically boy of Western ruling class, London, to deliver a message. That's what Kazakhstani president is, man. And he actually publicly started lecturing Russian president what should be done. He not just delivered the message from the London, but he started lecturing Russian president. That was a very odd stuff to see, man. Right? Very odd. But that's what happens, by the way. When you are not demonstrating strength on the global stage, all these rabbi chihuahuas, and there are plenty of those in this world, all these rabbi chihuahuas, man, they are beginning to think like it's their time and they can make some noise. And when that starts, by the way, only way you can stop these rabbi chihuahuas is to take their freaking heads off. Literally. To kill them. You have to then just fucking kill them, man. Right? Because these are rabid animals. Nothing works on them, right? There is no vaccine for that. And you can see how much noise these rabbi chihuahuas are making. A lot of noise, right? A lot of noise. And I think many of you, and also many people worldwide, are sick and tired of this noise that is coming from these nobodies, right? These rabid freaking chihuahuas. And well, we have this report, by the way, from RIA Novosti about open part of discussion between Tokayev and Putin. I'm telling you, it was odd, man. It was too bad. Who the hell is Tokayev, man? He is alive just because Russia saved him. Literally, by the way. Remember when there was a coup d'etat attempt in Kazakhstan? Russia sent troops under the umbrella of CSTO, Collective Security Treaty Organization. Few other members also sent troops and stabilized the situation. Russia saved this freaking animal from death. But he is a prostitute of Anglo-Saxon elites, right? This Tokayev is a prostitute of Anglo-Saxon elites, right? Let's have a real talk, man. That's what this garbage is. This is not someone that can be respected in any way, shape, or form. This is a prostitute. And I don't respect no prostitutes, man. Never will. And I don't give a damn about all these rabid noises that prostitutes have some rights too. Fuck them all, right? And their defenders too. So, President of Kazakhstan is a prostitute of Anglo-Saxon elites, and he delivered a message from his masters to Putin and then start lecturing him. And that's what he says. Perhaps, sir, it is time to put this conflict to hold and return to Istanbul 2.0 formula, since significant results have been achieved there, naturally with their guarantees of great powers, including Russia. What the hell, man? And Putin was sitting there and smiling, man. Who the hell are you, bitch? Shut the fuck up, go kill yourself. It's none of your freaking business, you dirty scum. Right? But yet again, man, this prostitute talks stuff that London wants to hear. That's what it is, man. And if anybody had any doubts that Kazakhstan was involved in attacks on the Russian Federation, I don't think after this crazy talk from Kazakhstani president, I don't think anybody should have any doubts that London and Washington are using this territory of Kazakhstan whenever they want, in whichever way they want to strike on Russia, to harm Russia, and they will do so also against China when they will go after China big time. And they're going to go after China too, man. And look at the border that Kazakhstan has with China. And you know what is interesting? On the Chinese side of this border, you know who lives predominantly in these neighboring regions? It's a Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, right? It's ethnic minorities, by the way, that so happen that are predominantly Muslim. And Kazakhstan is also a Muslim country, right? And many Kazakhstanis, by the way, have been trained by US Secret Services, British Secret Services, Turkish Secret Services in terrorist activity in Idlib province of Syria. Many Uyghurs from China, thousands of them actually, were also trained in Idlib province. Uzbeks, Kyrgyz citizens, and you think where those trained terrorists are, by the way? They all died. They all have changed their minds. Western Secret Services just let them go freely? No, they are waiting orders. Most likely they still are in Idlib province of Syria, in some camps, and they are waiting orders to go into Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and then from these republics infiltrate China and destabilize northern western parts of China. So Beijing, quite sure, strongly monitors the situation. I think there was at some point, a few years ago, by the way, there was this sentiment that was circulating in the media that because Tokayev was working in China, he was representing Kazakhstan in China, he was ambassador of Kazakhstan or something, or representing business. He spent quite a time in China. And many people were thinking that he's a Chinese asset, not a Western asset, but Chinese asset. But in reality, no. Everybody was wrong, man. Nazarbayev was a Western asset, former president of Kazakhstan, and Tokayev is a Western asset too. That's how it is. And I think it is time, by the way, for Moscow and Beijing to do something about it. I don't think we can afford hostile entities to be in charge of this vast territory. We just cannot afford this, right? And if Putin will do nothing now and Xi Jinping, then, okay, let's give it a few years, man. Situation will further deteriorate, of course, because we will lose time that can. But eventually we will have different leadership that will not shy away from acting tough, man, on these freaking rabid chihuahuas. It's absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. And well, of course, here in Russia, by the way, reaction on Tokayev's speech was extremely negative. I especially went to check different channels, by the way, different platforms, right, to see reaction of the people on this news, and the reaction was very, very negative, right? And therefore, unsurprisingly, press spokesman of the Putin stated that, well, this initiative of Tokayev to freeze the conflict is unrealizable right now. It can't be done. But same time, man, giving their ties that Tokayev has with the Western Secret Services, Western elites, giving their relationships that Putin has with his Western partners. Partners is the right word, right? Partners. I think maybe not now, but I mean, Tokayev would not say publicly what he says, right? He would not dare, man. But I guess he's emboldened by his Western masters and probably protocol. There was some talks between protocols of two presidents, and protocol Russian side agreed that Tokayev will make that speech. And if my understanding is correct, in that case, we have a good enough indicator, by the way, or even indirect confirmation of my prediction that Putin is moving towards some sort of a Minsk agreement, on which he will sign up for either in the next several weeks before parliamentary elections will take place here in Russia, that are scheduled for late September, or maybe he will do this after, probably before. because after, I don't know, man. So that's what is going on. That's what is going on, by the way. And let me give Peskov's comment on that. Russian President Vladimir Putin briefed his Kazakh counterpart, Kasim Jomart Tokayev, a prostitute of Anglo-Saxons, on the progress of the special military operation in response to their initiative to freeze hostilities. According to Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov stated that Putin's responded to, okay, of course, he told him everything in detail about the special military operation. However, Peskov also stated that given the Kiev's current position, such a freezing of the conflict is currently impossible. Currently impossible. But in 2 weeks' time, might be possible, because yet again, man, who the hell is Tokayev, right? Honestly, I mean, who the hell is Tokayev, man? The freaking prostitute, literally, right? Вокзальная шлюха, well, that's what Tokayev is. Привокзальная шлюха, right? Anglo-Saxonov. So him to go and lecture Putin about what should be done in regards to Ukraine and conflict to be frozen and Istanbul summit, Istanbul formula to be bring back. Who the hell are you to talk about this stuff, right? He was ordered to do so by his Western masters, and same time, yet again, protocol. I don't think protocol will ever allow, whenever Russian president is meeting with someone, I don't think Russian protocol, protocol of Russian president will ever allow some surprising speeches there. So everything that in the public part is said by Russian president and with whomever he is meeting is known for a protocol and to Russian president, obviously, up front. So if he agreed that Tokayev will make such a speech, you tell me, why would he then? What's going on? Only logical explanation is that he's moving towards some sort of mainstream. And soon we might have much more indicators of that. I might be first commentator out there on internet who started sharing this opinion long time ago now, right? That Putin is moving towards mainstream. But soon everybody gonna talk about it. Mark my words, man. Because as time goes by, more and more indicators are on that. Now, that's been said, let's let me make this screenshot here, by the way. Now, I was let me take a few minutes, dear friends, to once again share with the possible new members that this project is completely subscriber funded. Probably you can, even if you are watching first time, you can understand straight away, man. And I mean, this project is free, right? Because that's how it is, man. So if you like my work, if you like these programs of mine and this project, well, you can support, of course, dear friends. As I said, only thanks to support of community, I'm still here in this field, and this project is alive. So you can support, of course, if you want, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see on your screen Patreon page exactly where I have extra content on regular basis. Ideally, I want to have from Monday to Friday first news updates there, and quite often I do have first update, at least for quite a few months now, right? Lately, overall, it's I don't know, man. More than 500 videos there. So if you want to, I mean, maybe you don't want. If you just want to support my work, you can subscribe and never open Patreon, right? If YouTube updates or Rumble updates are enough. Unfortunately, one more member left our Patreon community. I mean, no matter what I do, man, right? I'm losing support on Patreon. You know, it was 133 yesterday. It is 132 now. You know, and when it comes to Boosty, it's only 12 supporters there on Boosty. There was a 13 for a long time, but recently one member left her. Yeah. So you can subscribe to my Patreon page or Boosty page if you like to support actual free speech, by the way, right? Actually independent project, because there are many others out there that claim to be independent, but if you listen to their talk, man, I mean, quite often they're not that different from MSM, right? In their talking points, they just might use different words to deliver same message, right? But I am independent as much as one can be, right? So there is that Patreon and Boosty that you can use to support her. A monthly subscription starts on Patreon from $5. There is also a PayPal platform, by the way, that you can use to donate. And during the live streams, you can use Super Chat feature on Rumble and also premium subscription gift card, by the way. And once again, let me drop a link to my Rumble channel in case you have an account, by the way. Subscribe to my Rumble, will be nice. Or watch my videos on Rumble, by the way. Be active there in Rumble chatter. I have to say, man, even though my channels, I think, are in strong shadow ban on both platforms, on YouTube and Rumble, on YouTube, there is decline, right? Total decline. Shadow ban is just too stricter. Nowadays, maybe 1,000 people are able to watch my videos, or maybe 2,000 people. And that is that, out of 37,000. And if those 37,000 don't want to see anything from me or hear anything from me, who forced them to stay subscribers, right? They just not even receiving notifications. On Rumble, at least there is some new members, right, are coming on weekly basis. So restrictions on Rumble are not as strict as on YouTube, by the way. YouTube is killing my channel, and every now and then I'm thinking to stop making any videos on YouTube and fully focused on Rumble in terms of these live streams. Anyways, all the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And so, yes, that is that. Let's continue with some other news. This week was hard, isn't it? And I'm actually tired, man. I need to have a freaking 1 day off. So Friday, I was unable to make programs, right, because of the connection issues. But it was not really day off. So I have to somehow come up with a schedule when I have 1 day at least, actual day off, when I do nothing in terms of news. Anyways, let's continue with some other topics, and then let's have a good chat, by the way, good community chat. Commerzant reports that Trump ordered the halt of Iran strikes. And, well, dear friends, when you hear this news, if you read about it or hear about it already, didn't you think that, well, Levan was saying that it's the US that is desperate for a break? Didn't you think about it? Because, I was saying that US desperately needs break, because when they get engaged in this tit for tat, they did not think that Iran would catch them in this escalation spiral and will corner them. They didn't expect that, but because they have very low level analysts, right? If they even have any. But we knew it because I was talking about it. And that's exactly what happened. And the US was wasting weapons long-range weapons targeting in many cases the same places twice or three times, because they are also struggling with the targeting data. They don't know what to strike, because this mosaic defense that Iran has deployed, implemented, dispersed Iranian forces throughout this huge country. And it does makes no sense, obviously, to use a Tomahawk missile to eliminate platoon, man. It just makes no sense. So US was struggling simultaneously with the lack of weapons and also with lack of targets. And that's why in the speeches, US leaders were every now and then referring to some targets, some stationary objects that everybody knows exist: bridges, power plants, and so on. And in many cases, they did actually. But yes, Trump ordered to halt strikes on Iran. But not surprised whatsoever. This halt, I don't know how long this will last, but I think Iran will make a tactical mistake if they will allow US to get some break. They should continue striking on US assets. From military standpoint, that makes all the sense, right? Iran does not really need that much a break as US does. Although, of course, all this exchange of fire brings damage, destruction, and death to Iranian side, but they are engaged in a war, and when war starts, some very difficult decisions have to be made, right, by leadership. That's how it is. And so their attempts now in Western propaganda outlets and on behalf of White House to claim that Washington is halting fire on Iran because of their negotiations, right, with the Omani representatives that are mediating now between Iran and the US. Same story over and over again, by the way. Same BS stuff, right? Same BS stuff. But even some Western media outlets cannot bear any more embarrassment, right, while pushing this White House's propaganda. And New York Times, for example, went to say it as it is straight away, that missile shortage actually forced US to halt attacks on Iran. No some nonsensical BS stories about negotiating with someone, but shortage of missiles. And this is a big deal because US right now probably only has a few thousand cruise missiles left of all types. Literally, maximum few thousand cruise missiles left. And that is that. And if they deploy all of those missiles against Iran, they would not have results any better than they had during the initial stage of the war, when they use like 5 times more of those missiles, right? Americans themselves claim they conducted 12,000 strikes on Iran, at least, right? So that 12,000 strikes means 12,000 long-range missiles being deployed, because U.S. Air Force, neither U.S. Air Force, neither U.S. Navy ever dare to go for full gravity bombs, because Iran still denies skies, right? So they are unable to target Iran with the gravity bombs, which will require planes of US Navy and Air Force to stay for a long time in Iranian airspace. So they have to use these long-range means, and they don't really have much. US President Donald Trump canceled the large-scale operation due to concerns about the critical depletion of air defense systems. I mean, New York Times is lying also. They cannot be truthful 100%. They have to lie in some ways, right? They are focusing on air defense missiles, while in reality, it's not just their interceptor missiles are issue, but also cruise missiles that US don't really has much more left. depletion of air defense systems in the Middle East, and the risk of a global conflict, New York Times reports. On the eve of canceled attacks, the head of the state discussed arms shortages with the military commanders. I'm considering massive strikes more powerful than ever before, and I am close to making decision from stated before the change of plans. Washington's position was also influenced by the risk of worsening relations with their allies and their potential impact on the global economy. It has nothing to do with their global economy. It has nothing to do with their so-called partners of US. Everything has to do with their lack of long-range missiles that US is experiencing. They only have a few thousand left, man. Literally a few thousand of all types. Tomahawk, JSSM, and ATACMS, and whatever they still have in inventory, right? And they are unable to mass produce those missiles. And why they are unable to mass produce these missiles? You know why? One of the reasons is that, well, China has imposed certain restrictions on certain companies when it comes to access to rare earth materials. So even though Western propaganda continues to push this nonsense that, well, US can potentially produce 1,000 missiles of this type and other 1,000 of that type, they cannot produce shit, man. Right? They need rare earth stuff, and they don't have it. So, I mean, what they're going to produce? They're going to do the same stuff as Lockheed did when they deliver F-35s without freaking radar. How embarrassing is that, man? How embarrassing is that? When Lockheed Martin is delivering F-35s, fighter jets, by the way, fighter bombers with no radars on board. So US is in trouble, man. You know, Western ruling class, Zionists, and their neocon allies quite effectively demilitarized the US. And China probably is looking at the situation and saying, I mean, what the hell, man? How stupid is these people really are that are in charge of decision making in the West, man? China don't even has to do anything, right? US itself is demilitarized. I mean, the US itself is demilitarizing, right? Voluntarily, basically, while committing crimes against humanity simultaneously. So that's what is happening, man. That's what is happening. And I don't think Western ruling class will stop pushing for their plans in regards to the Middle East or global strategy. So therefore, I mean, at this point, it is absolutely obvious that if West wants to further escalate in the Middle East and keep this region as isolated from the rest of the world as possible, then, well, they have to start active work on deploying European forces because US is done. US is done, man. The Europeans can bring another 5,000 to 7,000 long-range missiles, approximately. On the paper, they have more, but in reality, God knows how many of those missiles are operational. So 5,000 to 7,000 probably realistic, but yet again, in that case, Europe is going to demilitarize themselves. So, you know, there is a good chances, by the way, that Western ruling class is going to fail in their Middle Eastern chapter, which will be great news for the whole of humanity, for Russia, for China, for everybody, right? For all of humanity, because none of us can afford Western ruling class to be successful in their global strategies or Middle Eastern chapter of that strategy. Meanwhile, even though, you know, militarily US is a paper tiger, right? Clearly, man, paper tiger that no one probably ever expected it to be, but it is the case. But they can go after civilians, man. They can go after civilians big time, and that's what they do. And they hijacked a vessel that was linked with Iran, or at least Americans were thinking that this tanker is linked to Iran, they opened fire on the vessel. I don't have reports about people being killed or injured, but well, I mean, poor performance of U.S. militaries is only getting even worse, only deteriorating, man. Right? They're barely managing to freaking hijack civilian vessels, and they claim to be number one military in the world. What a joke! TASS news agency is also reporting that Iran, meanwhile, claims that since the latest escalation in the past 2 weeks, basically, they neutralized more than 200 U.S. Military personnel, and by neutralize, I mean key aid, right? Right. Of course, I don't know if we can take this information for face value, but given the scale of attacks, precision of Iranian attacks, I'm quite sure hundreds of U.S. military personnel were definitely injured. How many of those being killed there? I don't know. 200 there, possible, but I have some doubts about it because, I mean, if US are all lost in just 2 weeks, 200 military personnel, would they be able to hide this? Wouldn't there be any speculations, at least in alternative media, about death toll? So dozens, possibly yes, but few hundred, I don't know. I don't know, but that's what they claim, that Iranian armed forces have killed more than 200 American service members stationed at the US bases in the Middle East since Washington violated the ceasefire. Yet again, I personally don't really believe in this number, 200. I don't know, man. But tell me what you will make of it, right? Maybe I'm missing something, right? I can imagine that dozens of US military personnel was killed and there are a couple of hundred wounded. This can be hidden by Pentagon relatively easily, but 200 death, then how are they going to hide 200 dead militaries, man? You know. Anyways, Iran also claims that they inflicted damages to U.S. assets throughout the Middle East in past 2 weeks for more than $20 billion. And this damage includes air defense systems that were destroyed, radars, logistical lines, warehouses, infrastructure, aircraft, drones, helicopters, commander centers. And there is even some numbers, by the way. Tasnim News Agency, for example, shared information that in past 2 weeks since the ceasefire was break by US, allegedly Iranians neutralized 11 jets and helicopters of a hostile side, 17 Recon drones, F-15 fighter jet in a hangar, not in air, but in a hangar. P-8 spy plane was struck. At least C-17 transport plane was destroyed and 8 refueling planes were destroyed. Well, I don't know, man. I also have some doubts that in past like 2 weeks, 8 refueling tankers were destroyed. These tankers are located mainly in Israel, and Iran didn't strike Israel on U.S. assets in Israel, right? So it's a fog of war, isn't it? All sides are sharing God knows what, and I mean, we are in a situation, isn't it, when we are trying to understand what is real and what is not. But this is what Iranians are sharing. It's up to you, dear friends, what you're gonna believe. I personally have no issue believing that U.S. definitely suffered significant losses in terms of military power, manpower, and the military equipment. There is videos that confirms that. But when it comes to volume, I'm not ready to speculate on that because I just don't have enough information. All I can say is Iranian strikes are very specific, man, very precise and powerful. That's for sure. That's for sure. And Iran is also demonstrating that they are, they're on top of the game, and they have no intention to bow down to nobody, and they are not seeking no de-escalation if this de-escalation would not happen on their terms. And even more than that, Tehran is issuing warnings now to US allies, all US allies, including UK, and UK because the strategical bombers that are involved in the targeting of Iran are taking off from UK. So Britain will be legitimate target for us if it joins the United States. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps stated, and well, UK already joined US, by the way. British airfields are used by B-1 bombers, right? B-1, B-52 bombers to target Iran. So they are part of the war, obviously. And soon, UK, Germany, France, and many others, they will get engaged more directly with their own weapons and their own manpower. Inevitable, absolutely inevitable. If, of course, Western ruling class will not if Western ruling class will continue with its global strategy and the Middle Eastern chapter of it. If they will surrender, if they will say that they lost her, okay, that will change everything. But I don't think Western ruling class is capable of that. Meanwhile, following their Houthi retaliatory strikes on Saudi Arabia, Riyadh decided to involve their proxy, so-called internationally recognized Yemeni government, to attack Ansar Allah movement and their Houthi rebels, as they also are known. And yesterday already there was a ground battles too. This Saudi proxy Yemeni government targeted Ansar Allah movement from air, and also I have seen videos of ground battles. And well, Houthis, by the way, defeated Saudi, UAE, their proxies in Yemen, and everyone else already, right? In 9-year-old fights, old fights. So if they did it once, they are well capable of repeating their previous success. It's so stupid, man. On behalf of Saudis, man, it makes no sense whatsoever. Only one side that benefits from this escalation between Saudi Arabia and Yemen is Western ruling class. That's the only beneficiary of this escalation. So they have to stop, man. They have to stop. Although, of course, if Houthis are attacked, they will retaliate. And they claim that they actually targeted again sensitive Aramco targets in Saudi Arabia. Aramco is, of course, major state-run energy company in Saudi Arabia, and this was done in response to Saudi Arabia's blatant criminal attacks on Hadaider. Strikes were precise and direct, Yemeni Houthis claim, and yes, there is a lot of videos, by the way, out there that demonstrates successful long-range attacks on Saudi assets by Yemeni Houthis. But this has to stop, man. This has to stop. Riyadh has to de-escalate, and as I mentioned in my previous updates, I think it will make all the sense if Riyadh will ask Iran to mediate, right, to de-escalate the situation. Iran is clearly ready because Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister of Iran, already made a statement that Tehran can offer mediation services to Saudi Arabia and the Ansar Allah movement to de-escalate. And hopefully this offer will be taken by both, by Saudis and Houthis, because yet again, man, are they enemies of their own selves? They play in hands of Western ruling class. Why are they doing this? If this escalation will shut down navigation in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait or the Red Sea, who's going to benefit from that? Not Houthis, not Saudis. Western ruling class will benefit from that, right? Because that's exactly what they want, man, with their Middle Eastern chapter. They want to isolate entire Middle East for as much as possible and as long as possible from global economy, especially energy sector of this region, to force then China to increase its dependence on Russian energy imports. And China is forced, by the way, already to increase its energy imports from Russia, because what else they can do, man? Right? They can't buy freaking oil from Martians, isn't it? Not yet, at least. So, yeah, that's where we are. Hopefully, these guys will stop, man. Hopefully. And meanwhile, Israel allegedly plans to mobilize another 240,000 reservists by September, by end of September, and well, this might be indicator of approximate time frame when Israel might go for yet another military campaign, either in Gaza, either in the West Bank, or maybe in Lebanon again, or who knows, man, maybe Israel will actually participate in a ground invasion of Iran. And I've said many times before that all this memorandum of understanding was a BS. This so-called ceasefire was a BS and their attempt of deception on behalf of Western ruling class. In reality, they are preparing for next phase of the war, which will start late autumn, early winter, and which will include ground invasion of Iran. And yeah, maybe Israel will actually send its troops, man, to participate in a ground invasion. Who knows? Who knows? And I will end news segment, dear friends, on this news, which is very unfortunate news that is coming from Europe, that there is a massive wildfires in Spain and France, on the borderline regions of these two countries, I guess. More than 220,000 people have been evacuated there. 19,000, at this point, probably significantly more than 19,000 hectares of their forest were burned out. Homes, by the way, residential homes for more than 80,000 people were destroyed by this fire. And well, it's a hell, man. I dropped some video on my Telegram yesterday, and it's scary stuff that is going on there, man. It's not just humans, but animals, man. These shocked animals, obviously, that are running away from fire. It's shocking what's going on there. Hopefully, firefighters will manage to deal with the situation as much as possible, as soon as possible. But of course, that fact that it's an extremely hot summer in many parts of Europe, of course, that does not help, obviously, right? So yeah, that's what is going on in France and Spain. Let's hope there will be either no casualties or as minimum casualties as possible, because we are talking about civilians, man. So and that is it. That is it, by the way, when it comes to a news segment, relatively short news segment today, correct? Relatively short news segment today, and well, Now let me react. Now let me react on recommendations from Christopher, and also there was a two super chats from Scooby and the premium subscription gift card from Viper, I believe. So I will react on it in a minute, dear friends. First, let's go with the recommendations from Christopher. And dear friends, if new segment was okay, if new segment was interesting, please click that like button. It might help her, of course. And well, Christopher is recommending us, dear friends, to take a look at the Murat-san channel's latest update, where there is a video of a GoPro from GoPro, in which you can see Ukrainian reconnaissance unit discovers abandoned Russian positions. Another recommendation from Christopher is that Zelensky's reshuffle is a spin job. Ukraine is in real trouble. Dr. Jennifer Kavanagh is talking about this, shares opinion. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Peacemonger, which has 14.5k subs, by the way. Check the channel, and if you like the channel, subscribe, by the way. It's your decision, of course. And another recommendation from Christopher is that hello everyone, here is the video that you might like to watch. Return of MacArthurism, Scott Ritter and Patrick Henningsen, the world this week. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Consortium News, which has 48.3k subs. So thank you for sharing, Christopher. Many members of our community are, of course, familiar with the Scott Ritter. Patrick Henningsen, maybe I have heard. I cannot visualize now the person. Maybe I have seen his programs, maybe not. But well, Scott Ritter, well known to majority, I guess, of members of alternative media community. And so, dear friends, if you want to take a look at that, of course. And you see, dear friends, Scooby is commenting right now on this channel of Peacemonger that Christopher recommended. Scooby is commenting. Peacemonger is Jan Proud's channel. No, it's not better. So Warwick Powell on there recently. He lectured me a few years ago. I mean, you see, Scooby. So thank you for sharing, Christopher. I personally cannot tell you much about her Peacemonger channel. Maybe I'm subscribed even, but I don't have opinion. But you see, it's a big channel, bigger than mine, by the way. And I don't think her Peacemonger is as shadow bound as my channel, so therefore probably reaches out a bigger audience than I am. So check out, dear friends. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your recommendations. Thank you. And for your donations, obviously. Thank you very much. And let's react. Let's react on super chats. Super chats are from Scooby. So thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chats, and many thanks to you, Viper, for your premium subscription gift card, which is a $5 donation. Every such a gift card is a $5 donation, of course. So thank you, Scooby, and thank you, Viper. When it comes to Scooby's super chat, first comment is, in Iran, the common people are apparently walking around there on beaches with the guns, waiting for the US to invade Vietnam vibes. Well, I have seen some reports from Iran when locals are actually armed, right, and are kind of patrolling the areas and are trying whatever they can to assist the security services, right? It's a Of course, society will rally around the flag, right, when it's being targeted and targeted for no reason at all, right? That unites the people, and that's exactly what is happening in Iran. But obviously, Iran's militaries or security services not gonna rely on civilians that will self-organize or something like that. Or they're gonna put up a well organized fighter, and they're probably, Iranian militaries have dozens of plans how to react on different scenarios, uh, different possible scenarios, right? That might emerge when ground invasion begins. So we will see. I mean, at least as of now, I'm much more optimistic than like several months ago, for example. Optimistic in a way that I think Western ruling class will fail. Hopefully, they will fail because humanity cannot afford they to succeed. It's an evil force, right? But now I'm a bit more confident that they're gonna fail. Engulfing entire Middle East into fire of ethnic and sectarian violence. That's what their end game is there, because they know if they manage to provoke war on ethnic and sectarian lines, then entire region will stay distracted and isolated from global economy, rest of the world for years and years and years to come, and we cannot allow them to succeed in that. And another comment from Scooby is, so did Putin ask Tokayev to call for a conflict freeze, or did the West ask him to do it? I think West told Tokayev to deliver this message, right, publicly, and I'm quite sure protocol of two presidents had a discussion on the matter. And these statements of Tokayev did not came as a surprise for Putin. I'm quite sure about it, because I don't think on such a level leaders of different countries are talking about subjects that they did not discuss prior, right? Because no one needs no surprises on such a level. So I think Putin green-lighted basically Tokayev to push these talking points now, right? To basically make the headlines with the idea of freezing the conflict. Because formally, yet again, I mean, I'm saying that Tokayev is a prostitute of Anglo-Saxons, right? Anglo-Saxon elites, because I'm 100% sure that's the case. But if you ask ordinary people that I'm ordinary too, by the way, I mean, but if you ask people that don't really pay nearly as much attention as I do to geopolitical events and stuff, they probably think Tokayev is a president of ally of Russia. No questions asked. That's what ordinary people probably think without really thinking much about the subject. So it's a Western ruling class that cornered Astana in some ways with the blackmail and with these attacks on a Caspian Pipeline Consortium, and forced basically to act as a messenger for the West on one side, and to put some pressure on Russia on other, because due to the strikes on Russian energy infrastructure, well, we might but we definitely need some imports of, let's say, gasoline, right? And Kazakhstan is one of the countries that can help with this, although there are some alternatives too. But either way, I think what we see yesterday in Omsk on sidelines of that forum, when Tokayev started talking about this freezing of the conflict, and he literally used freezing, by the way. He was talking in Russian, and he was saying it is заморозить конфликт, что-то такое in this regard, something on these lines, right? He was talking about freezing the conflict and stuff, and even though, you see, Peskov's statement was that right now it's not the time. That Putin explained to Tokayev what's going on the battlefield, and currently this is not possible, freezing of the conflict. But the word currently means that right now, maybe not, but it's a testing of the ground, right? That's what Putin's side did. They are testing ground. They will monitor now, because all the media outlets reported about it. They will monitor people's reaction, and well, based on what I've seen on alternative media, reaction was extremely negative, and so, you know, I don't know, man. We will see, right? If Putin gonna go for, as I predicted, if he's gonna go for a Minsk-free type of agreement, freezing of the conflict and so on, then he will. It's not gonna be easy, because he will need something to sell as a victory, right? He will need something to sell as a victory. Right now, what he can sell as a victory? If, let's say, in 2 weeks from now, Trump and Putin met, right? If Trump comes to Moscow, just let's imagine, right? Trump comes to Moscow, or whatever ways he says, you know what, let's do now. And if they say that there is certain agreements that being reached between the sides, right? Freezing of the conflict or on the current line of contact, let's say, or I don't know, whatever the scenario is, right? What can Putin sell as a victory? And what demands Western ruling class will have, because, Western ruling class is extremely emboldened, isn't it? Western ruling class is so emboldened that they might come up with such demands that no matter how much Putin would like to end the military phase of this conflict, he might not be able to sign up for it, right? But for whatever reason, Tokayev was used to deliver this speech, correct? This is not random stuff, by the way. This is not random stuff. He's talking about freezing of the conflict. So something is being prepared. Something is being prepared. I don't know, maybe Kiev regime plans to withdraw forces from Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. I mean, if in next 2 weeks' time, let's say, Kiev regime's forces will actually withdraw from Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, maybe at that point Putin will agree on some sort of ceasefire and liberation of whole of DPR, maybe definitely delivered, sell to public as a victory, 100%. But what about denazification, demilitarization, and all those goals, right? So Putin is in difficult position. What you would do, Scooby? What would you do in current situation? I don't know, man. It's difficult. I believe he wants to end the the war, right? I truly believe Putin wants to end this war. And if Western demands are not too crazy, probably he will agree. But I mean, we just have to wait and see, right? A question I have: when this is gonna happen? Before elections, after elections, that are planned for late September? Lot of questions really, but I'm 100% convinced that this topic of freezing of the conflict was made relevant by Tokayev, not randomly. This kind of stuff does not happen randomly. So something is in plans, right? Probably there is negotiations behind there, since some agreements probably already been reached there, and they are on advanced stage of negotiations, I guess, if the Tokayev is making such statements on behalf of Western elites, while pretending to be a Russian friend, right? And he is not a Russian friend, man, in no way, shape, or form. He is a Western asset. And the Russian intelligence know that, I believe, Chinese intelligence know that. Tokayev cannot be trusted, ever. But anyways, I mean, some interesting stuff is going on there, man. Some interesting stuff. And you know what? Honestly, man, even though ceasefire are going to be extremely unpopular here in Russia, well, if there is only options like either for the prolongation of this war and constant exchange of long-range attacks, for the death and destruction, or ceasefire, in that case, many people might say, you know what, if we're not going to restore deterrent with the collective West, if we're not going to stop these long-range attacks on Russia, then maybe ceasefire makes sense currently, because in order to achieve a victory in unconditional victory in this fight, we have to deter Western world, right? And so if current leadership is unwilling to do so, then okay, I mean, this temporary measure, ceasefire, might be, might be better option than another 2-3 years of this unending war. Some people might think this way, maybe even majority, actually, right? And people will hope that one day Russia will have a new leadership, which will continue special military operation, but with very different approaches. And on the very first day of new special military operation, Western ruling class will be put in check. And that is that. And then war would not last more than a couple of weeks. I think. But with Tokayev, by the way, I mean, this one is such a disgusting creature, man. Russia saved his life, and he is working for Russian enemies and harming Russian people. And don't tell me, please, dear friends, that Kazakhstan has nothing to do with their long-range attacks on Russia. It has everything to do with it. I'm not going to believe even for a second that all these attacks in Yekaterinburg or even Chelyabinsk was attacked, right? Or Omsk or Tyumen and the rest. All these attacks that are on the cities that located some 1,700 kilometers away, 2,000 kilometers away from Ukraine, are actually done by the regime with drones that are launched from Ukraine. It's not possible. It's a Kazakhstan, right? And if it was a one instance or two instances, okay, I would say, yeah, maybe Kazakhstan is big and Astana has no freaking idea what's going on. But when it happens on regular basis, well, it's impossible to believe that Kazakhstan security service and militaries don't know what's going on. They know, but they are serving their Western masters, right? So They are keeping quiet. So Kazakhstan leadership is a Russian enemy of Russian people, in my personal opinion, and the Tokayev is an enemy of Russian people, I think. An enemy of Kazakhstani people too, because he is setting up Kazakhstan, man, big time. He is setting up Kazakhstan for a big time, and I'm gonna tell you, man, right now, I mean, 3-4 years ago, I would have a different answer on that, but right now, if you ask me what I think about future of Kazakhstan, I might say that I'm not necessarily seeing Kazakhstan in a current shape and form on the political map in next 10 to 15 years. 10, 15 years and Kazakhstan will be gone. Kazakhstan as we know it, by the way, right? In current shape and form. And all because of their own leadership there. Because they made fatal mistakes, man. Fatal mistakes that cannot be reversed, right? These processes that they launched themselves cannot be stopped or reversed now. So there was another super chat. There was another super chatter. Scooby is commenting. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chats and the questions. And dear friends, let me remind everybody, if some people join right now, we already had a news segment, and now it's a community chat. It's a Sunday traditional community chat and fundraising stream, by the way. In fundraising part, as of now, we are not really succeeding that much, but many thanks to Christopher for donations and recommendations through PayPal, and Scooby for super chats and donations through super chats, and the Viper for premium subscription gift card, and to everybody, by the way. Many thanks to everybody who ever supported and continues to support. Let me check Patreon. Maybe we have a new member. Nah. And our community on Patreon needs to double, man. How this can be done, I don't know. Scooby is commenting, dear friends. Is there heat wave in Europe anything to do with climate change? Yes, of course. Climate change is real, isn't it, dear friends? Maybe I've been misunderstood when I shared my skeptical take on all this agenda of the climate change that was built by fake scientists in the West primarily, that are working for this satanic Western ruling class. Climate change is real as anything can be, right? But it's nothing new also. Climate always changes on this planet. I mean, maybe some people don't know, maybe majority of people don't know, but last ice age finished some 10, 12,000 years ago. Correct? And since end of ice age, we have a constant climate change in terms of rising temperature. Correct? At some point, temperatures will climb up to levels when probably waters on the Greenland gonna melt. Ice on the Greenland gonna melt, right? And that will bring so much fresh water into ocean, into Atlantics, let's say, that drop in salinization of the water, Atlantic water, will have an impact on the Gulf Stream current, which is a current that's actually responsible for a relatively mild climate in Europe. Take a look at the UK, dear friends. On terms of location, UK as north as Canada is, right? But climate is much more softer in the UK than in Canada. How is that? And that's because of Gulf Stream, right? Take a look at the Europe is basically located on the same latitude as Canada, but climate is mild. How is that? This is all thanks to Gulf Stream, right? Gulf Stream brings warm water north from equator area. And this hot water or warm water brings warm air with it, right? And this circulation of warm air creates this relatively nice conditions in European part. But once Gulf Stream is distracted, and it will get distracted, by the way, right? When ice will start melting big time on Greenland, that is that. We're gonna have another ice age. So everything from now and that point is going to be climate change in terms of rising temperatures. And this stuff had happened on this planet, like, I don't know, 1,000 times? Maybe not 1,000 times, but like 100 times already or 200 times. And true scientists that are not being biased by money, not being corrupt by money, true scientists know that, and they are very open about it. They don't deny climate change. How they can deny this? Of course, climate change is happening. Of course, it's happening constantly, always, right? Always, since the creation of this planet, there is a constant freaking climate change, right? And once Earth stabilized in more or less current form, there is an ice age and then increase in temperatures, right? Then ice age again and increase in the temperatures. This is a constant cycle, and I refuse to take bias stories from these fake scientists that humanity is somehow driving this climate change. This is total nonsense, right? It has nothing to do, literally nothing to do with the humanity. Nothing whatsoever, right? It does not matter if we are on this planet or we are not on this planet. Forces that are involved are much more powerful than humanity, man, that are influencing this. So that's where my take is, right? Climate change is, of course, real. It has everything to do, obviously, with this extreme weather conditions. Extreme weather conditions, right? And lately, I mean, for many, many years now, last 20, 25 years at least, as I start paying attention to it, there are more and more instances of extreme weather in areas where this extreme weather was occurring very rarely, if ever, right? At least in significant time frame. Look, on this matter, NSPK is also commenting, nothing to do with humanity. One, inform yourself. Okay, NSPK, I mean, of course, we do make pollutions, greenhouse gases and stuff, and it does influences the situation. But that influence is tiny. All these fake scientists are saying that we are major source. We humans are somehow major source of a climate change. For God's sake, last ice age ended 12,000 years ago, right? Since then, we have a constant increasing temperature. So who can tell me that our ancestors 10,000 years ago that had literally nothing, right? Nothing. They barely managed to learn how to deal with fire at that point, and you want to tell me that those our early ancestors was already impacting climate? And you know what? Actually, our ancestors, we can go a little beyond that, even further in history, because our ancestors were living during the ice age too, right? Because a modern form of human being is formed like in the last 200,000 years, approximately 150, 200,000 years. So what about 50,000 years ago? How we were impacting climate, but climate was changing 20,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. Now, okay, we have at least something, right? Cars and this and that, and a lot of means that can pollute the air, right, and release gases into atmosphere, which will, of course, have some impact, but tiny impact. While 10,000 years ago, what our ancestors were doing, that was impacting climate change. But somehow climate continued changing and temperatures continue to increase. So it has nothing to do with humanity. It's a circle. This lifelonger circles that are taking place on the planet. So if we disappear right now, all of us, climate change will continue to exist. Temperatures will continue to rise. And at some point, this increase in temperatures will melt the ice on Greenland, maybe in Antarctica too, right? Probably they are true in some ways. Well, I'm not sure about it, but maybe. And that will trigger another ice age, with or without us. So this is all Western propaganda. This is all propaganda of these so-called experts in the climate change that are pushing on the people that somehow humans are major driving force now for the climate change. I mean, not the sun, not the earth and its natural cycles, right? But humans. How we can be this selfish, man, to think about ourselves, to be that important, that we can influence, entire planet now. We can't. We just can't. We are too irrelevant. Siberia, and by the way, check my, correct me if I'm wrong, but every summer, Siberia alone releases more carbon dioxide in atmosphere than whole of humanity ever released throughout its existence. Every single summer, when thermofrost melts a bit, it releases more carbon dioxide in atmosphere than humanity ever released throughout its existence of 200,000 years. So that's the answer, really. Do we impact something, anything? Of course we do. Of course we do. I mean, I smoke cigarettes, so this cigarette smoke does something probably, right? We all do some stuff that we produce some gases that might tiniest fraction accelerate climate change. So to say that humanity has no impact whatsoever, zero impact, that would not be correct. But to blame humanity for climate change is just too much, right? With or without us, temperatures will rise and drop, and these cycles will continue as long as the sun is a current sequence, right? When when our sun will go red giant, at that point, even way before it will go red giant, by the way, when it starts moving towards red giant phase, of course, at that point, Earth gonna get cooked. And no matter what you will do, Earth will get cooked, Earth will get sterilized, right? And hopefully by that time, humanity will be spread throughout the galaxy, right? Not just our solar system, but galaxy, and humanity will survive because sun will not shift towards a red giant phase for another at least like 2 billion years, I guess, right? So, but in a billion years from now, probably some processes will be gone, isn't it? Because sun is about 5 billion years old, and these main sequence stars, their lifespan is about 10 billion years, right? So our sun is in mid-age right now. So that's what I think. So I'm not a denial of climate change. I know this is a big discussion, by the way, in the West, and some people being called climate change deniers, just because people are saying that, well, it's not because of humans, but because of the cycles that this planet has. Here in Russia, no one gonna call you no freaking names, by the way. You have your own opinion, your taker, and that is that. It's all good, and we are still mostly on supporters of scientific approach. We don't take no nonsense, by the way, from these fake scientists that are pushing this agenda of climate change for their mercantile interests, right? And those people like Al Gore and the rest of the scumbags, by the way, what their initiatives do, they are taxing countries for carbon dioxide. Who is taxing those taxers? It's a big business, man. They are creating money from thin air. It's all scam. It's literally all scam, man. All this climate change talk. They weaponized natural phenomena and are making billions on that while taxing countries, you know, for building economy and using this tool as a leverage over their countries, right? To keep them down, not to let undeveloped countries to accelerate their developments, because this Western ruling class, they have a hammer in their hands. Don't dare you, because climate change, right? You are releasing too much carbon dioxide. All these Paris agreements and all this is all freaking nonsense, and they're scam. 100%, million%, by the way. Take a look at the people that are behind all this nonsense, right? And you will understand this is scam, man. Those people have no care about humans, right? But on your question, yes, of course, climate is changing, and extreme weather conditions are linked with the climate change. But yet again, it's not because of the humans, but because of the way our planet operates. There was also, well, John is here, by the way. Bonzo Beans is here. Oh, didn't expect to see him. There was 2 super chats from John, Bonzo Beans. Let me highlight the friends. So, hello, John. First of all, good to see you joining our stream, and thank you very much for your comment and donation through super chat on Rumble. And John is commenting, they have not evacuated me from my sofa yet, but I may need to buy a little single room AC for next year's. Most Swiss houses, apartments don't have AC. Air conditioning, I mean, if you live in the mountains somewhere, John, you might not need air conditioner, but in some valleys, it might be very hot, isn't it? But you live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, so yeah, it's great. Hello to you and Swisslander. And another comment, by the way, rooftop solar PV plus air conditioning on this perfect combo. Yeah, that's a good idea, of course. If you have your own power generation through solar, if you have good batteries, by the way, that can store normal levels of electricity, That's great. And if you have a little river next to you, and if you put some tiny, tiny, by the way, generator of electricity, tiny dynamo, we call it a dynamo, by the way, right? If you can put tiny power generator there in the water, and that's even perfect, right? Even greater. These tiny power generators on a river, they don't need like big river, tiny river will do, as long as there is any current, right? And yeah, you will have a constant power. You would not be dependent on a grid whatsoever. So yeah, some cool stuff. Thank you for sharing, for your donation, John, and it's good to see you. I did not expect you, because you said you're going to be very busy for at least half a year, right? So I hope everything is good. I hope you are doing great. And dear friends, right now, there is no super chats to reactor, and there are no comments from either Boosty or Facebook. So I will scroll through chat, and if I see questions with capital Q, capital letters, I will react on it. Of course, if there is any super chat through Rumble or other platforms, I will react on those immediately as I see them. And let's continue our chat. Right, there is some topics on which we will agree, some topics on that we will not. But anyways, it's a Sunday, isn't it? So let's just have a friendly chat. Scooby's comment, interesting. USSR was good at the building infrastructure, not so good at TVs. Yeah, that's true, for sure. I don't know why, by the way. We were well capable of flying to space, but unfortunately, when it comes to certain goods, either TVs or anything, I mean, you just name it. We were just building stuff, right? As with minimalistic approaches. Maybe because everything was state-run, right? Everything was state-run, and the state was more focused on something else, not necessarily on delivering certain goods for people, because they have their specific ideas that minimalism was appreciated, I guess, right? Mainly, but I still struggle to understand how come, for God's sake, we cannot build proper cars. We can build freaking fighter jets, top fighter jets. We can fly in space. We can do all sorts of things, man. We cannot build proper car. And nowadays, we don't even build TVs, right? I don't think there is any Russian company that actually builds Russian TVs. During the Soviet Union, at least we had Russian TVs, right? Soviet TVs, isn't it? And there were a number of republics that were producing TVs. I can't remember like all the TV that we had when I was a little kid. I can't remember the name of the TV, but at some point we got Taurus or Taurus TV that was produced in one of the Baltic states, right? So, and then Soviet Union collapsed. So yeah, Soviet Union was great in many things, and extremely minimalist in some others. That's for sure. I see a question. Christopher is commenting. Pepe Escobar, Yemen's blockade, Iran, Russia attrition, and US strategy decline. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called the Dialogue Works highlights 35,000 case subs. Dialogue Works highlights. I guess Dialogue Works made their has another channel for clips for highlights. So, dear friends, many of you probably are subscribed on Dialogue Works, and I did not even know. Thank you for sharing, Christopher, that Dialogue Works had a separate channel of highlights. I was once invited on that channel. I remember, like long time ago. Thank you for sharing, Christopher. There was times when I was not so toxic as I am right now, and I was invited in quite a few channels. But lately, even if I'm invited, I'm refusing. So there is not even point to invite me on any channel. I'm strolling, dear friends, to looking for questions or the comments that may be directed to me. Capital Q, capital letters. Okay. Scobie is commenting Levan might be getting a bit ahead of himself, assuming Kazakhstan is compromised rather than just trying to play diplomatic peacemaker. No, Scobie. You don't think Kazakhstan leadership does not know what Russian society's take would be on such initiative? He knows perfectly well. I mean, he might pretend to be idiot, that Tokayev guy. Or naive extremely or something like that, but he knew perfectly well what he was doing. And he initiated a conversation about subject while sitting face to face with the Russian president about subject that is extremely unpopular here in Russia. And if Russian militaries, by the way, security services and Russian public in large afraid of is some sort of deal that may be played behind their backs. Dogovornyak, right? Dogovornichok. That's some words that are used here in Russia about such dealings, right? That's what people are afraid of, and people afraid that Russian military securities, Russian people itself, and the Russian Federation might be denied unconditional victory by saboteurs. Let me say this way, and there is reasons that people might have these kind of fears, right? And the Kazakhstani leader just reinforced that when he launched this conversation about freezing of the conflict. He actually reinforced these fears of the people, many people, that maybe behind the scenes there is some dogovornichok that is being prepared. So I don't think I'm getting ahead of the process. I think I'm spot on. This kind of stuff cannot be done randomly, man. It's just not happening, right? I was in the presidential pool once, right, in Georgia, by the way, when Eduard Shevardnadze was a president. I mean, that's how old I am, right? That I was in a presidential pool in Georgia when Shevardnadze was leading. Eduard Shevardnadze, former Soviet foreign minister, and then Georgian leader when Soviet Union disintegrated. And you know how protocol works, Scooby? There are no random stuff there. If you want to ask a question, for example, you have to indicate that upfront. If you, for whatever reason, not gonna be, and when you are in the presidential pool, you are kind of you are moving around, right? There is a Shevardnadze always had like Monday briefings. I don't know why, but every Monday he had the briefings. And if I did not tell them, presidential administration, that I'm gonna be there, then they will call home, man. There's so many times they freaking called me. I was not at home, but my mom was answering, and she was telling me that, well, you have to be in our administration. There is a briefing of Shevardnadze, right? There is no random stuff. On that level, nothing is happening randomly. So there is not even the slightest chance that Tokayev just went in and made a speech, right, that he did not prior, or his administration did not prior spoke about with the Russian side. So it was something that was planned. Question is why, right? Or why this was planned? Why Russian side agreed on that? Tokayev to launch the conversation about the subject of freezing of the conflict. And by the way, yet again, I personally think Tokayev is an enemy of Russia. He cannot be trusted. He is a Western asset, right? That's my personal opinion on that. He is a Western asset. But many people here in Russia might not think like that. They might see Tokayev as a president of a friendly nation, right? And when this initiative it's a big difference when an initiative for freezing conflict is coming from London, for example, or Paris, or Washington, or Berlin. That's one attitude that any initiative from those capitals will receive from Russian public. When formally friendly nation's president is initiating this conversation about freezing of the conflict, count there is on a more positive reaction of the public, right? Because this is not coming from openly hostile side. This is like friendly, isn't it? So it's a part of a bigger game. It's a part of a bigger game, and the only reason why would Russian president and his administration will agree on that meeting on which Tokayev would make that speech is that, well, probably there is some works already in place, and maybe sides are getting closer to some sort of agreement that soon might be announced in matter of maybe a couple of weeks before parliamentary elections, right? Because right now Putin needs something for parliamentary elections, because due to these restraint policies that Russia is exercising, or Putin is exercising, I mean, questions will be raised, right? No matter how many percentage of votes current ruling party of Putin, Единая Россия, will receive, people will question anything and everything, right? And that's a straighter line towards major changes in a country. When people start believing that this government is illegitimate or legitimacy is in question, that's the beginning of big changes, inevitable changes. That generates processes that cannot be changed, cannot be stopped, right? It might take different time in different countries when these processes will reach certain points, but process itself then cannot be stopped. Kremlin understands this, right? They understand that society is very angry, very disappointed with this restraint policy, right? This is not something that society ever expected, that Russia gonna be struck by NATO member states directly, with direct involvement, right, on daily basis, and we will just sit here and do nothing. I mean, this is not something that people expected when special military operation was launched, right? But we are here now in this situation, and even though I personally, as I have said many times before, think that if opposition parties will not go on elections, on parliamentary elections with the coalition, in that case, the ruling party will win anyways, because they can mobilize their supporters while opposition will divide supporters of opposition flank, right? Because they will seek more votes for themselves, and generally speaking, they will harm each other. None of those parties separately going to be able to gain more votes than ruling party anyways. Together, they might have a chance. They definitely had a chance, I think, right? Because protest vote would be tremendous. Now, because there is no election bloc, there is no unity in opposition, what now going to happen is that very few people going to vote. Turnout going to be very low, I think, and that benefits ruling party always in every country. Low turnout benefits ruling country because ruling party has infrastructure in place, right? They can use all sorts of means to mobilize their supporters, while opposition parties lack the capabilities, and they are competing not just with the leading, ruling party, but with each other too. So they are a priori in a weaker position. They don't really have much chances, and that's what it is. So there is a high probability that Jedina Russia will get majority votes anyways, right? If only 50% of people will participate in elections, then would not be surprised at all if in this 50%, like 60% of the voters will be ones that the ruling party mobilized actually, and encouraged to go and vote. The rest will go for whole of opposition. So who's gonna be winner? The ruling party. But nevertheless, this is also issue for Kremlin now, because no matter it's not just about victory now, because legitimacy gonna be questioned. Legitimacy, despite their winning with their cleanly, right? Question of legitimacy will rise anyways, because there are so many people unhappy with these restraint policies and how things are developing, right? In regards to these long-range attacks on Russia and all the related stuff. So, Putin, his inner circle, they have to think about solutions, right? To maintain stability of the system itself. And then I wonder what they're gonna come up with, man. Because they themselves created this situation. They have to blame themselves, no one else. Oh, that's, you see, I come across this comment. Rutherford is commenting, hello, Warner, take heart. People come and go and forget to resubscribe. I mean, yes, there is always some people will subscribe, some people will unsubscribe. Then YouTube's algorithm does manipulations, but there's so many times, by the way, when numbers just don't adapt because algorithm struggles to simultaneously fake all the numbers in a believable way. Relatively recently, there was a live stream, by the way, and YouTube was throughout the live stream was only showing like if it was just 3 people on live stream, 5 people maybe, or 10 people. When live stream ended, and people were laughing in the chat, they also noticed it, right? And the members of community were laughing in the chat, and when live stream ended, there was like 150, 200 likes already on the video. So algorithm had some issues while manipulating with the numbers. and that's what he did. I have somewhere I have a screenshot, by the way, when YouTube shows 400 views on a video and 500 likes. How this can be, man? I made the screenshots whenever something strange is happening, very strange, right? I'm making screenshots, and these screenshots are somewhere, I'm publishing sometime, and sometime I'm just keeping it for fun. So there is such stuff. Right now, I don't even know how many people are online actually, because I know YouTuber fakes the numbers. It shows me 80 at this point, that 80 people are online. I don't believe this. I simply don't. I don't know. Maybe it's 100, maybe it's 200, maybe it's 50, but I don't believe YouTube statistics. It's fake. It's just simply fake. And when it comes to subscriptions, YouTube unsubscribes every day, literally every day. YouTube unsubscribes people. It does not matter if I have a content or I don't have a content. It's approximately same rate, right? YouTube every day unsubscribes same number of approximately same number of people. If it was like one day 5 people unsubscribed, another day 20, then 1, then like 27 or something. If it's a very random numbers, then it might look like, okay, possible. Maybe during the stream I said some crazy stuff and some 20 people hated it and they decided that they're gonna unsubscribe. Okay, I can believe that. I'm saying some crazy stuff literally every program. But first of all, veterans know how to distinguish, right? When I'm serious and when I'm just messing around, or when I'm emotional and saying some shit just because nerves are playing with me. But anyways, that's a whole different story. People have a right to make a decision. If they are not happy with whatever I say, they have every right to unsubscribe. So when numbers are random, one day it could be 7, another day, like, I don't know, 11, then 1, then 3, believable. But when it's approximately same number every day, it's unbelievable. It cannot be, man, right? It just cannot be. When it comes to new subscribers, this month, about 100 people unsubscribed. We are in minus, right? We are in past 28 days, about 100 people unsubscribed for whatever reason. At least that's what YouTube shows me. What happened in reality? Those people actually unsubscribed, or YouTube unsubscribed them, is anybody's guess. And there is many instances when members of our community are writing in the comments that they've been unsubscribed. They never did it on their own, but algorithm, for whatever reason, unsubscribed them from my channel. So YouTube is dumb, and YouTube is just too bad, really. It has no real competitors. Rumble is nowhere close in terms of reaching their audience. But it's just too bad, man. It's too unjust, too fake, too corrupt. And it is what it is, man. And I know perfectly well that my project has no chance succeeding on YouTube, man. It's a kind of surprise that channel was able to grow to the levels that it reached. That's surprising. But in past 2 years, growth of channel has stopped. There is no growth, by the way, because new people are not seeing my channel, and even subscribers are not seeing. Majority of subscribers are not seeing no recommendations, no videos from me, no updates, nothing. And eventually you will forget, right? If you don't see channel like in recommendations, then after months or 2 or 5, or you just forget about the existence of the channel, right? And that's what happened to my channel. And that's why I still have on a paper, as YouTube shows, like 37,000 subscribers. In reality, only maybe 2,000 subscribers actually see my videos on more or less regular basis. And that is that. That's how YouTube kills channels, by the way. They don't have to necessarily block you and delete your channel. They will isolate you from your community itself. And eventually your community will forget about you. It's true. And that's what happened, man, to my channel. 37,000 subscribers, and my videos only have like 1,000, 2,000 views. It truly makes no sense, man, but it is what it is. Some videos don't even have 1,000 views, man. So, you know. And this is a news channel. It was a news channel from the beginning. So everybody who was subscribing, they knew this channel is not a channel about travel or entertaining or, I don't know, circus, man. This channel is about news and political commentary. So people knew what they were subscribing to. And now when 37,000 subscribers on one hand, and sometimes not even 1,000 views on a video on other, it's just illogical. Because if those people did not wanted to be subscribers, they would unsubscribe. But they just did not see my updates or notifications, anything in regards to my work for a week, then another week, then 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and eventually they just forgot about me. And that is that. And because I'm not inviting guests, by the way, I'm not invited on other channels, it's easy to forget about the existence of my channel. Very easy, right? Rutherford is commenting, do you need a VPN from some countries, sir? I'm not sure this is directed to me. Probably you had their conversation with some member of community. Here in Russia, you need VPN even to play chess, by the way, on chess.com. And I'm not joking, man. You need VPN literally for almost everything, right? Even to play freaking chess, man. YouTube is blocked, Rumble is blocked, Telegram is blocked, everything is blocked. Even freaking chess.com, man. And now to play chess, and dear friends, I love to play chess, right? I play chess on chess.com. I'm not really good at it. My rating is always around 700, 800. I have reached a couple of times 1,000 and dropped because on 1,000 level, you just have to be focused or actually focused on a game. And I don't play chess for a headache. I just play chess because I like the game. And therefore, I'm not really that focused during the game. So when you are not, when you just enjoy yourself playing interesting games, a 700, 800 rating is not bad, I think, right? And now I have to freaking use a VPN to play chess on chess.com. I mean, why? What is the point? Those are officials that were involved in this push to block everything. They were saying that were pushing for restrictions. They were saying that, well, all these restrictions on internet and access is because of these drone attacks on Russia. Well, almost everything is blocked, right? But somehow drone attacks continue and increase actually in numbers. So it was never about drone attacks, isn't it? It was about control, and that's it. Control of masses and their informational field, what people will hear or read and what people will not. And this is sign of weakness, man. This is not sign of strength. That's why I was always against any blockings, right? We are on the right side of history. Let's compete, not block anybody or any platform or anything. Let's compete. Let's prove. Let's explain. Let's do the work, right? And because we are on the right side of history, we have a better chances to succeed. For God's sake, let's work harder. That was my take, but you see, not everybody is on the same page. For many, blocking is the easiest way, right? Just block and forget about it. That's what they do. You know, easy for ignoring something will make that something disappear. It will not, man, but you know. And difference, there was a super chat. There was a super chat from Scooby. Let me highlight. Не понял. I just made a screenshot, for God's sake. Just a sec, dear friends. I literally just made a screenshot, but it was not saved for whatever reason. It should be now. Yes, it is. So let me react on this super chat, dear friends. Thank you, Scooby, for your super chat and the dollar donation. And Scooby is commenting, you are fundamentally depending on YouTube and Rumble to grow your audience. For you, I don't think this will work out in the end. Might need to take initiative like you did years ago. You know, yes, of course. I'm fully dependent in terms of reaching the audience on YouTube and Rumble. I do have a Telegram channel and Twitter X page, but this is more like, and there are some regular viewers, by the way, there on Telegram and Twitter X. If I am active, I do have thousands of views on overall, right? But it's tiny compared to big channels, obviously. YouTube and Rumble is our main platforms, and I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I don't know how to deal with shadow ban. And if I start inviting guests, I don't think that will help to deal with shadow bans. And you know what? I can work on my language, right? I may try to be less toxic so that maybe I will be invited on other channels then. And in that case, if I will invite someone, they might come. But yet again, that would not influence the shadow ban. I don't think anything can influence shadow ban. As long as your algorithm is blocking your channel, there is no chance to grow. I believe so on YouTube, this channel is I mean, I'm communicating with you, dear friends, to several thousand people on daily basis, and that is that. I don't think our community will grow on YouTube. I just don't see chances for that. Algorithm will never allow this to happen. On Rumble, there is a chance, better chances, because unlike YouTube, where I'm in a minus, our community is shrinking. On YouTube, little by little, like in last 28 days, about 100 people, at least giving their YouTube statistics, left. On Rumble, in same time frame, about 30 people joined our community. So there is a difference, right? There is difference. But overall, Russian channel, pro-Russian channel, explicit language, extremely stronger takes on topics that are taboo on internet, like Israel, for example. You say something about Israel. I knew perfectly well when my channel ended up in shadow ban. This happened when basically Israel launched its genocide against Palestinian people. and when I called it out for what it was. And that is that. Since then, for past 2 years, basically, my channel is in shadow ban on YouTube. On Rumble too, quite effectively, but just Rumble's restrictions are not that toxic as on YouTube. First and foremost, what YouTuber take as a reason to shadow ban was a criticism of Israel. And at that time, very few people were critical of Israeli actions, by the way. I mean, I know channels that never ever say anything critical. And I was very direct. I was saying that Israelis are fascists. Majority of Israelis are fascist scumbags, because I truly believe this is the case, right? And Israel itself is a fascist entity that needs to be demilitarized and denazified. I strongly believe in this. And I was saying this like, when Israel started acting as a fascist entity again, when people of Gaza Strip were genocided. And that is that. I knew, by the way, that this would kill my channel. I lost supporters on Patreon straight away. So it was a financial hit too. A significant financial hit when you are very tiny, right? And it was a strike on a channel. It was a strike on a channel from which this channel will never recover. It is what it is now. So I have no illusions about it. I'm just gonna do this stuff because I love to talk to people, by the way. I love to, I'm when I wake up, I'm automatically, first I do is I'm checking the news, right? What had happened. I grew up in field of journalists, so I'm happy doing this stuff, and hopefully at least 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people from our community will, will maintain connection. Hopefully, maybe someday, YouTube's leadership will change, and new leadership will make decision to unblock the channels, basically to make it less aggressive, to make shadow bans less aggressive or something. Theoretically, this might happen, isn't it? So, and when it comes to taking initiative, but again, right now, I don't feel comfortable to invite anybody because, but again, I'm very toxic. For language that I just used in regards to Israel, by the way, for that language alone, there are many channels out there that would not like to see me there, would not invite. And not because they are afraid that I will use this language during the conversation with them, but because algorithm knows me as a toxic one, right? So my appearance in those channels might be harmful automatically. Even if I would not say literally anything, I will just sit there like that. So, I'm too toxic, and therefore I will not also invite people. I will, I will try to. When I'm invited, I will politely decline invitation, and I will not disturb nobody with with asking for an interview or something. That's what I think. I see Nidish Kumar's question. Levan, did they tell how exactly Su-57 got hit in friendly fire? Well, no, not much is known. Not much is known about it. It's still speculation that it was a friendly fire, Nidish. And officially, loss of Su-57 was not confirmed. So everything is speculation on this topic. For members of our community who don't know what we are talking about, yesterday, isn't it? That was a few, just now, like in recent, in past few days, there was an accident with a plane in Odinsovo district. Moscow region, right next to Moscow, by the way, and their plane crashed. And their initial speculations on internet was that it was a Su-57 pilot ejected her, and there is a imagery out there on internet where you can see parachutes, so pilot clearly ejected. There is a one parachute, right? Which indicates that plane was a single seater, and that then debunks other claims that it was a combat trainer plane, because a combat trainer plane has two pilots. One is an instructor, another one is a pilot that is being tested, right? So it was a one-seater. Speculations are that it was a Su-57. Speculations are that it was intercepted by air defense systems. It was a friendly fire, and nothing is being confirmed officially in the Nidish. Anything is possible, but officially no word was said about this situation. If you ask her some technicals, how this technically could happen, why air defenses were unable to detect that it was a friendly, maybe Su-57 was flying without a transponder on, without, and because it's maybe not as stealthy plane as, let's say, F-22, but still it's a stealthy. Its reflecting surface is maybe was being seen by radar as something similar to drone reflecting surface, even though drone is like 10 times smaller. And maybe if it was air defense systems, maybe they were thinking that they are shutting down drone. Because stealth planes, they can be seen, right? It's a mistake to believe that no radars can detect them. No, they can be detected, right? And their detection range and the strength is dependent on effective surface of planes in terms of either there is technical language, by the way, for that. There is this surface, right? Effective surface of disperse of these freaking radio waves, right, from radars. So Su-57 probably was taken as some sort of a drone. It's a Moscow region. There's constant drone threat, and missiles were launched, and that is that. If luck was strong, then even Su-57 will struggle to avoid their strike, especially if it was on low altitude, right? And in a friendly airspace, pilot probably only had like a few seconds to react, and their best decision was to eject. But again, if it was intercepted, and even if it was Su-57, nothing is known, Nidish. There is no official statements, no nothing, not even acknowledgement officially that something happened to Su-57. So there is a very few countries in the world as bad as Russia is, by the way, in terms of public relations. Not Russia, Russian state institutions. From Soviet era, this is some sort of like rogue tradition that in terms of public relations, all state institutions are extremely bad. I mean, worse, man, right? I don't know why, man. It makes no sense, but, I'm scrolling, dear friends, so if I see any capital Q or capital letters, Then Michael Kennedy is commenting IDF burning down Argentina, Maui targeted fires, sir. All seems coordinated. IDF in Argentina? What's going on in Argentina? I did not really pay much attention to Argentina since Milei overtook there. I know that he took he rejected Christianity, right? Milei, Argentinian president, and he claims now to be Jewish. He went to Israel a couple of times, while acting to be so religious and stuff like that. I hate those fake scumbags, man, honestly. And probably he's making Argentina to become a subservient of Zionists. Would not be surprised at all. But yeah, I don't really know much about. I'm gonna search after this live stream. Actually, what's going on in Argentina? Also, a question from Nidish Kumar Levan. How does Russia and Kazakhstan divide and operate those Caspian oil and gas resources, joint companies or else, both independently? Well, when it comes to Caspian Sea, there is no, still to nowadays, there is no actual agreement, how to divide the sea. So right now, sea is divided on 5 parts, right? Sort of. But there is no fundamental agreements in place. Negotiations about Caspian Sea are ongoing for decades now, since the collapse of Soviet Union. But nothing is being reached. 5 countries are on the Caspian Sea: Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and Azerbaijan, right? And as of now, I guess sea is divided in 5 parts, or I don't know, man, how they operate, really. I don't know. I don't even know if maritime rules apply to Caspian Sea because it's not really a sea, it's a lake, right? There was a work to deal with this situation, but sides were unable to reach agreement. So I guess, maybe 12 miles is your economical waters. And then after 12 miles, just neutral waters, sort of. I guess that's how it is. But I don't think there is any like fundamental foundational agreement in place. Also, Nitish is commenting the one I have heard. One general of USA saying on Fox News that they can continue war on Iran for 2 decades. Oh no, total nonsense, by the way. They can't. Total nonsense. I'm surprised how many idiots become generals in US. Honestly, man, all these talking heads on CBS, CNN, Fox News, and others that actually are generals, by the way, 3-star generals. Some, I don't know, some might be 4-star generals, which is insane, right? How they become generals being that stupid? I don't know. I mean, this is some phenomenon that I cannot understand, right? And I don't believe they are really only acting. Some of them probably acting because they are making some money while appearing on TV and they're talking whatever their sponsors would like them to say. But in some cases, probably they actually believe in the nonsense that they are talking about. And you cannot comment on them seriously, man. They're truly idiots, imbeciles, honestly, man. And when it comes to real military capabilities of US, well, you can see in this, they cannot sustain high-intensity aerial combat with Iran even, because they are literally running out of long-range missiles, and they are totally unable to establish dominance over their airspace in Iran, to establish control over the Iranian airspace. They failed in that. And that's why I was saying in past days that the US is desperate for a break. They need break, right? It's not Iran that needs break right now. It's the US that needs break right now, because they are running out of long-range weapons. And same time, they are running out of targets because they have no freaking idea which platoon to target where. Because this mosaic defense, when Iranian forces, including air defense forces, are spread throughout the country, I mean, this makes useless, right? U.S. long-range missiles in some ways, because honestly, you're not gonna be happy using like $3 million missile on a platoon of enemy force. On a platoon, by the way, makes no freaking sense, because you're gonna run out of those missiles much earlier than hostile side will run out of platoons, isn't it? So US is definitely not capable of waging war, neither for 2 decades and neither for 2 years even. And we are now, right now, US is losing air combat. I mean, this long-range confrontation with Iran. What you think gonna happen if and when Western ruling class will push US and its and other countries to go for next phase of war with Iran invasion? It's gonna be massacre, isn't it? It's gonna be literally massacre of US troops and Israeli troops if they will go in, and European troops if they will go in. Iranians will simply massacre them. I mean, that's how it is, man. US militaries have no freaking idea what war is, actually, right? This is not a freaking Hollywood movie, you know? They have no idea what high-intensity war is. I mean, literally. They don't even have officers who would know. So nobody in US army or in European armies have any freaking idea what actual war is, and what planning is for this war, real war. What level of logistics it will require, what level of tactical training of the troops it will require to have a chance on a modern battlefield. Western armies are joke, total joke about it. And I'm gonna tell you, man, when special military operation started, the Russian forces were maybe a little bit in a better place, because there were officers in Russian army that knew what high intensity conflict is. They were experienced, but in general terms, Russian army probably was in somewhat similar place as US army and their European armies are today. But now, I mean, the situation is completely different, isn't it? Russian army is most capable army in the world. No questions. Most capable army in the world, by the way. They can, I mean, you can station, I don't know, you can take 200,000 troops from US, UK, France, Germany, any other NATO country, put them on any of the sectors, by the way, any sector you take. And I think those troops will do much poorly than Kiev regime's forces are doing. Russian troops will eliminate them much faster than it takes for Russian militaries to deal with their Ukrainian forces. Because after all, Kiev regime forces also learn how to fight in this high intensity war. Americans don't know this. Europeans don't know this. And sending one or two observers to then share something with their militaries back home, it makes no difference, honestly. Makes no difference. So I don't take no US generals seriously, and especially ones that are talking heads on the TV. Imbeciles, that's all. From US military, sir, I think you might find decent professionals on the level of colonel in US Army, probably European armies too, and above colonel, I don't think so, because it's so politicized nowadays, isn't it? Everything is so politicized in the West, including armed forces, that I don't think any colonel will be allowed to become general without political alliances with their Saturn forces, right? And well, decent colonels, professional colonels, probably will choose to stay out of political shit. Sorry for my French, but you know, as long as they are acting military officers, right? And that will kill their chances to become general. So among ranks of colonels, majors, captains, you will find, I'm quite sure, of different level of professionals that have some theoretical knowledge, at least, about stuff, because when it comes to practical knowledge, none of them know what high intensity war is, because none of them actually participated in one. After Korea War, let's say, after Vietnam, okay, Vietnam was also quite high intensity conflict. But after that, US or NATO, European NATO countries, they never participate in actual high intensity war. Iraq was anything but. Afghanistan was also totally different stuff. So therefore, they don't know. They just don't. But they love to act tough, man. I don't know why. In former Soviet Union, by the way, right? We have a say, and I've been told when I was kid, right, many times, that you have to be humble, and I mean, you don't make too much noise about yourself, because that thing is not for people that actually are capable of something. Noise about themselves are made by people who are not really capable of doing much, so they are trying to attract noise through noise, therefore some attention or something. But if you are actually capable of doing something, you don't have to be, you just do your thing, man, right? There is a saying in Georgian, I cannot translate in English because I don't think there is an exact translation, but it's a wise say, by the way. Anyways, it's all 3 hours. It's 3 hours, by the way, now. So Christopher is commenting. Russia, Espero, Quisi, Lenera, El Trende, Munitions. This is Spanish, right? Yeah, I can't read Spanish. I can, but I have no, I don't know Spanish. But members of our community read that. I reacted on all comments, right? I reacted on all super chats, on all comments through PayPal. Let me check Bursi and because sometimes I might miss some question or something, and I'm quite nervous if I find out about it that I missed some question or super chat. I hate that. And well, I guess this is it, dear friends. Today we have a very chill live stream, very cool live stream. And good conversation too, isn't it? Also, Christopher is commenting. Hello, everyone. Just letting you know that movie called The Spy Who Came In from the Cold 1965, starring Richard Barton, can be seen on YouTube channel called YouTube Movies. And dear friends, we all like movies, isn't it? We all do. Right now, I'm rewatching Expanse TV series. It's a science fiction, or if you have seen, dear friends, I mean, share your take, but I think it's one of the uh, even though it's a science, it's a fiction, it's a science fiction. I think one of the most realistic science fictions that were filmed in past several years. That expands good TV series. Actually, I like their how they work with the physics in space. Um, and so, yes, dear friends, if you want to check out the movie, it's on a YouTube channel. YouTube Movies, that's the name of the channel. Um, Spy Who Came In From Cold. Must be interesting. Thank you for sharing, Christopher. Thank you for sharing. And let's scroll, and True Gambit is commenting. American does not build anything anymore. It's all from China. Well, maybe you're being too strong on America, True Gambit, but in many ways, US, of course, lose its industrial capabilities for sure, and right now they are way behind China when it comes to manufacturing stuff. Although US still can do a lot of things, man. US is a still economical superpower, so we have to be careful in ways that it's easy to underestimate, isn't it? Capabilities of this country or that country, and if you do that, this will have effect on your further analysis of global developments and stuff. US is a still major superpower, by the way, and there is a big chance that US gonna be major superpower in this world for a very long time. They are not going anywhere, and maybe one day American people will actually manage to reclaim their own country. By the way, that would be great. But as of now, in terms of manufacturing capabilities, of course, US is behind China, and Europe is doing not any better than US does. China is leading the world. It's the world's major manufacturing um, force, isn't it? And technological too, by the way. I mean, if in the past China was seen only as a world's factory, right now China is leading in so many fields, by the way, when it comes to modern science, when it comes to technological breakthroughs and stuff. China is demonstrating economical, scientific, social miracle, actually. And this needs to be acknowledged and understood, right? If you want to be as successful, you might want to see how Chinese did this, right? And you might take not all of it, because Chinese culture is different than cultures, right? Let's say in Russia. So something that Chinese might like and tolerate might be completely unacceptable for Russians, and other way around. But definitely there will be something that can easily adopted, right? And that will help. That will help. China is a major country, by the way, in this world, and definitely not some sort of an underdog. It's a leading technological power. Leading technological power. It's yes, more than 3 hours, isn't it? It's time to end the live stream, dear friends. Christopher is commenting, Levan, did you know Sean Connery made a film in 1990s called Russia House? Maybe I have seen it. Russia House is it's a CIA, right? Russia House is a faction in the CIA that was operating in terms of Soviet Union and probably continues to operate on the Russian direction. Maybe I have seen it, but I cannot recall now what was going on in the movie. Sean Connery, I probably have seen most of his movies. Legendary actor, by the way, obviously, right? Sean Connery is one of the top actors ever, for sure. If you ask me, obviously, I mean, you know, people might have different opinions, but I think Sean Connery is definitely one of the greatest actors out there. And yeah, maybe I have seen, but if I don't, thank you for reminding me. Maybe I will take a look at it this weekend. It's 12 past 6, so maybe this evening I will take her and look at the movie. Thank you for sharing, Christopher. And Scooby is commenting. There is a super chat, dear friends, from Scooby. Let me highlight this. So thank you very much, Scooby, for your another super chat and the $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting, Chinese economy is directing resources towards research and development instead of short-term financial gains. USA will lose to them in the end, I think. And well, if US, maybe US already lost, actually. I mean, approach, as you rightfully noticed, Scooby, approach is very fundamentally different. And if in case of China, money is not everything, profit is not everything. In case of US, money and profit is everything. Driving force is money and profit. In China, driving force is progress, right? Scientific progress, improvements in a country, in a life, in a society, and this different ideological mindset that people have, right? Of course, have tremendous impact on countries, right? On the policies that they implement, and well, I mean, until Chinese social and economical miracle, it was the Soviet Union that pulled off such a stuff, right? Soviet Union improved the quality of life of hundreds of millions, tens of millions of people. I mean, some might argue hundreds of millions of people in a relatively short time, right? And that was absolute record, by the way. Despite all the criticism of Soviet Union, all their experts were agreed that, yes, Soviet Union pulled off some unbelievable, unseen before miracle on a tremendous scale when tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, life of those people were improved in span of generation, less than that. And this was never ever repeated by any country ever until China came across. In past 40 years, China did what Soviet Union did, but on much larger scale. On much larger scale, and now, by the way, I mean, take a look at the China, man. I mean, it's level of improvement of life in span of let's say 2-3 generations is just unbelievable. Let's not forget that during the Mao Zedong's rule, during the Cultural Revolution, people were starving in China. And even when Deng Xiaoping started the reforms, right? When Deng Xiaoping basically established their link with the US and they opened China for investments and stuff, for significant portion of Deng Xiaoping's rule, China was also extremely poor country. And quality of life was very low. But yet again, in past, Deng Xiaoping created the foundation. I will say I'm not an expert in Chinese anything, right? But as far as I can tell, Deng Xiaoping created this foundation on which next leaders continue to build, and yeah, you have modern China. It only took like 40 years, right? About 40, 50 years. And that's that, man. Tremendous miracle was created. And of course, attitude, mindset has a tremendous importance, because I truly don't think Chinese are very, even though they are very much interpret business-minded people, I don't think they are prioritizing money and associating with success money necessarily. They have some other ideas, right? Or other principles and morals, right? That keep them focused on social good. While in the West, especially in US, individualism is above everything, right? It's all about me and my happiness and my success and my this and my that. I never understood this, right? Because humans are social animals, and to divide humans on such a scale, right, and make them all these extremely individual, like autonomous vehicles. I mean, that was quite something to pull off, obviously, right? It took a lot of effort to brainwash so many people, right, and indoctrinated in this sick ideology. But they succeeded; those American ruling elites succeeded in that, and for certain period of time, this was actually beneficial for them. They advanced quite rapidly, but only for so long, isn't it? And at some point, they just end up against the wall. Exactly because of this mindset that it's all about me, right? They are facing the obstacle that can be crossed if they are working together, right? If they have more socially oriented mindset that will let them easily communicate, easily organized in to do something together. But this current mindset that it's all me, that makes it difficult to do. While in China or here in Russia, by the way, we are all, most of us, socially oriented, right? So if something is good for society, we are in support of that. We don't need to be persuaded. I mean, we just grow up in this cultural field that we have a social responsibility. It's not just and not never ever about me alone, right? So this mindset definitely is something very important. And I remember, by the way, some time ago, this individualism that was a phenomenon, Western phenomenon, was praised when Soviet Union collapsed as a way forward. And I was always skeptical of that, right? Because it goes against our human nature. And now, I know I was correct. Everybody knows that you don't go against your nature, because nothing good will come out of it, right? It is what it is. And dear friends, if I may, oh, that's interesting. Look, Nidish is commenting, Levan, yesterday we successfully tested our quantum radar. Wow, congrats, Nidish. I try to imagine how quantum radar gonna work. I have no freaking idea, really. but it must be something extraordinary. I mean, quantum radar, what it does, man. I will try to learn something about it. But either way, it's sounds smart. It sounds smart, sounds complex, because nothing simple about quantum physics. And so, I'm happy for India. Must be a great success there. Thank you for sharing, Nidish. Quantum radar, man. If someone explained to me, probably I would be able to understand, because I have read some stuff, or I listened to some lectures when professors do some free lectures on internet. It's interesting. It's quantum physics, by the way, because it's a basement for everything, isn't it? If you understand quantum physics, actually, truly, then you will understand universe. But as of now, we can only understand just so much, man. And if we dig deep into quantum physics, we're gonna end up in somewhere around strings theory, right? And then this multiverse, and then God knows what else, right? Also, Nidish is commenting, the 1 hour country vloggers enjoy traveling in Russian trains, always great atmosphere. Well, yes, I mean, trains, it's cool. Um, what can I say? It's a good trains, mostly. It's a good trains, by the way. When we travel, if it's possible, if it's not too expensive, we always take coupe. When there is a fourth place that is separated, right? It's like a room, small room. But last time we went to North Setia, Alania, last summer that was, we were unable to afford this coupe, and we travel through Blockade, we call it, and it's basically open space, and yeah, it's always a story, right? It's I don't really like it, man. I'm gonna tell you, I like the train. I like when we have a coupe, but it's when it's Platzkart, it's too freaking noisy for me, man. I cannot take that noise. When I was younger, probably I would not care that much. Now I do. But for the foreigners, it might be like something different and interesting, right? When you have seen it, like, I don't know, man, numerous times, you're different. You react differently. But and then there is a different routes. I mean, different routes. By the way, uh, Russia is massive, isn't it? And there is many companies that provide different services. For example, recently me and Anna, we went to for a 1 day trip to Leningrad, St. Petersburg, by the way, and there was many companies that were working on that route. We chose one that called Aurora, for example, and if you buy tickets upfront, like 2 weeks before, you might get good prices. Actually, if you want to buy on the same day that you want to move, it will be quite expensive. And there are different companies that are offering different level of service in this travel, right? It goes not just for St. Petersburg, but basically any direction, or maybe not any, but many directions, right? And it all comes down to money. More you pay, more comfortable the situation, atmosphere is for you. But it's a great, man. I love travel by train. I love this noise that train itself makes, when it moves. And there is something specific in that. And dear friends, there was a right now comment recommendation from Christopher on PayPal. Let me highlight, if I may. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your donation of $4 with this particular comment on the PayPal. And there is a comment, hello everyone, here is a video you might want to watch. Breaking Russia's massive strike on sheikhs. Video can be seen on YouTube channel called Tapur Update. So dear friends, you have heard the recommendation from Christopher. On the Tapur Update channel, there is a new video of Russian massive strike. So thank you, Christopher, for sharing. Thank you very much. And many thanks for your donations to this project. Thank you. And also need to comment on that loggers traveled Trans-Siberia into Kazakhstan. Trans-Siberia is, of course, one of the popular routes among tourists because it goes all the way, right? You can start from Moscow and go all the way to end of Russia in the Far East. You can move any direction you want, including into Kazakhstan, of course. And Kazakhstan is huge too, by the way. I mean, it's massive too. It was the second biggest republic in Soviet Union by territory. And many people in this world does not know about it, right? Probably would not be able to find Kazakhstan on the map. I always struggle to understand this phenomenon, when people are unable to find countries on the map. I mean, there are countries, of course, that maybe not that often are making headlines on a global scale. And maybe you would not know about their existence or their geography or their capital. You would not just bother. But there is countries that are, for example, Kazakhstan is one of the biggest countries in this world. How can there be people out there that don't know where this republic is? But I'm quite sure majority of people on this planet would not be able to find it on the map. I don't know why, man. But yeah, some people wouldn't be. I mean, there is Ukraine constantly in headlines, isn't it? I'm quite sure majority of humanity will struggle to find Ukraine on the map. Am I correct? Probably I am, isn't it? Anyways, dear friends, this is it for now. 3.5 hours of stream. We had a conversation. We had a good chat, isn't it, about anything. That's why these community chats are good. Many thanks to everybody who supported her. Many thanks to everybody for attention. Have a wonderful day, dear friends, and take care. Bye for now.